हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट लेके आ चुका हूँ और एक इम्पॉर्टेंट नोटिस भी है गाइस कि कल इसका लास्ट पार्ट आ जाएगा गाइस। चाहे कितना भी बड़ा होगा, मैं कल इसका अपलोड कर दूंगा लास्ट पार्ट। और क्योंकि मेरे ऊपर प्रेशर बहुत बढ़ रहा है, क्योंकि पुराना स्टोरी सब भी आप लोग चाहते हैं कि मैं अपलोड करूं और नया स्टोरी मैं अपलोड नहीं कर पा रहा हूं, जिसके वजह से मेरा व्यूज़ हो नहीं रहा है। एक तरह से डाउन में ही चल रहा हूँ अभी चैनल मेरा, इसी खातिर। और मैं आप लोग को मना भी नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ इसी खातिर गाइस। तो मैं है ना जल्दी से जल्दी हो सके, जितना जल्दी से हो सके, मैं अभी थोड़ा बड़ा बड़ा है ना टाइम का है ना वीडियो डालूंगा, जैसे 7 घंटा 8 घंटा इस तरह करके डालूंगा और कंप्लीट करूँगा। या फिर नहीं भी डाल पाए तो 2-2 घंटा करके, 3-3 घंटा करके, 4-5 वीडियो कर करके डाल डाल के सबको कंप्लीट करने की कोशिश करूँगा।
Chapter 218, The Auspicious Beast Schemed Against by Buddha Tank 2 in 1. As far as Ji Yurong knew, the strongest expert in the family behind Blazing Academy was only a spirit Douluo. Meanwhile, in the Tianshui team's preparation area, watching the auspicious beast step onto the arena, the Hell Demon Dragon King Ziji leaned back on the sofa, crossing her arms with a confident expression. I really didn't expect this girl Chower to be unable to resist getting on stage so soon. Although Xiaowu has some tricks up her sleeve, she's definitely no match for Chower. This match is in the bag. Ji Yuina nodded calmly and said softly, it's indeed not hard for Chower to win against that girl named Xiaowu. However, Ziji, you should also be aware of the spirit abilities Xiaowu possesses. Once the match truly begins, Chower will likely need to expend some effort to take her down. What Ji Yuina was referring to were naturally the two major life-saving divine skills Xiaowu hid, Paragon Golden Body and Teleportation. In an arena battle, these kinds of life-saving skills could be said to be extremely annoying. However, a spark of wisdom flashed in Ji Yuina's beautiful eyes. Since a spirit ability like Paragon Golden Body, which provided absolute defense, performed so heaven-defyingly in its mechanics, it would definitely have very strict limiting conditions. After all, this was merely a spirit ability provided by a 10,000-year spirit ring. Yet the defensive effect it displayed was almost comparable to the defensive spirit abilities bestowed by those 100,000-year red spirit rings. There was no such thing as a free lunch. The restrictions on such a spirit ability were definitely not small. The Heaven Do team's preparation area. Seeing the eye-catching words, Level 66 Spirit Emperor, on the large screen, Ning Rongron's fair little hands clenched tightly together as she said with concern. Lin Yuan, the opponent's strength is too great. Should we have Xiao Wu step down and admit defeat directly? She's only level 59, and the strength gap between her and this Dichoer is simply too vast. What if she gets injured? Lin Yuan looked at Xiao Wu, whose battle intent was high on the arena. After thinking for a moment, he shook his head steadily and said, no need to worry, you know Xiao Wu's competitive nature, she definitely wants to personally test the opponent's background and true strength. Everyone, rest assured, I believe Xiao Wu knows her limits. If she can't win, she'll naturally back down. In fact, before Xiao Wu prepared to go up for the individual competition, Lin Yuan had already instructed her. He explicitly told Xiao Wu that if she really encountered Dichoer in the individual matches and needed to use Paragon Golden Body, she could only use it 3 times at most in this match and absolutely could not exhaust all its uses. After all, the current match was merely an individual match against the Blazing Fire team. After finishing this, they still had to face the Tianshui team, a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, in an even more brutal individual competition. They had to save their trump cards. Even though Xiao Wu's Paragon Golden Body Spirit Ring was now completely different from the purple 1,000-year Spirit Ring in the original work, it was now at the 10,000-year level. This skill still had a limit on the number of uses. For the 1,000-year level Paragon Golden Body, the daily limit was 3 uses, with each instance of absolute defense lasting 3 seconds. After being strengthened, the daily limit for the 10,000-year level Paragon Golden Body had not only increased to 8 times, but the duration of each use had also been extended to 5 seconds. Lin Yuan looked at the auspicious beast Dichoer on the arena. A flash of deep meaning crossed his eyes. He knew very well that this was an excellent opportunity to vent, and this gossip had to be exposed. Thus, Lin Yuan unhesitatingly summoned the system in his mind and quickly wrote down the tragic future of the auspicious beast being cruelly designed by Tang San in the original work. Speaking of which, this Emperor auspicious beast of the Stardo Great Forest not only has a noble status, but her fate is actually quite lamentable. 10,000 years later, in the era when Tang San had already successfully achieved the high position of God King, this naive auspicious beast was ruthlessly schemed against by Tang San. A dignified divine beast of destiny ended up with a miserable fate of sacrifice. Furthermore, setting aside the sacrifice itself, 10,000 years later, the auspicious beast was forced to sacrifice herself to the son of destiny favored by heaven and earth at that time, Huo Yuhao. To some extent, her encounter was the same as that of the Ice Empress and Snow Empress of the extreme north. They were all swept into the vortex of destiny. However, while the Ice Empress and Snow Empress lost their physical bodies, they at least survived as miraculous existences like spirit souls. But the auspicious beast truly sacrificed her life, her divine soul utterly destroyed. In the final ending, Huo Yuhao successfully reached level 100 and became a god. The Ice Empress and Snow Empress also naturally inherited one of the emotions of Huo Yuhao, the god of emotion, which counts as a disguised resurrection and granted them eternal life. But the most tragic part is that the auspicious beast, who gave everything, was never resurrected in the end. At this moment, the auspicious beast Dichoer, standing on the arena, suddenly stiffened. A look of immense confusion and shock flashed through her clear eyes. What? Sacrifice? Me? Her heart was filled with a sense of absurdity. Her future would involve actively sacrificing herself for a hypocritical human. This was something she completely could not understand right now. She was indeed very curious about the colorful world of humans, but the positions of spirit beasts and humans were clearly defined. No matter what, she, the dignified Emperor auspicious beast, could not possibly willingly sacrifice herself to a human. Meanwhile, in the preparation area, Xiao Wu saw the word, sacrifice, in the diary. She just helplessly rolled her eyes and silently complained in her heart, yeah, sacrificing to a human again. I'm all too familiar with this routine. After all, a few years ago, she had been the one Lin Yuan complained about, and now it was the auspicious beast's turn. Unsurprisingly, the reason for the auspicious beast's sacrifice to Huo Yuhao was probably similar to hers, right? Lin Yuan, you certainly have some self-awareness. Silver Dragon, this is absolutely impossible. As the Stardo auspicious beast, Choer carries the luck of the spirit beasts. How could she sacrifice herself to a human? Emerald Guardian, Choer grew up by the Lake of Life since she was young. Her hard nature is very simple. To her, humans are just enemies. There must be some trickery involved. Abyssal Demoness, the master is right. It must be that Tang San used some insidious methods. The pride of the auspicious beast cannot be desecrated. What exactly happened? Ice Sky Snow Lady, the diary says Binger and I ended up as spirit souls. And even followed that who owe you how to become gods and resurrect. Is that for real? Don't want to become an ice sculpture. This empress would rather die than submit. However, if even the auspicious beast couldn't escape this fate of sacrifice, then this matter is definitely not simple. While they were filled with doubt, Lin Yuan's diary updated again. This entire tragedy actually starts from the detailed account of the first meeting between Huo Yuhao and the auspicious beast. The so-called attribute guidance between Huo Yuhao and the auspicious beast appeared to be an accidental encounter of destiny, but in reality, it was entirely the result of Tang San's orchestration from the god realm. Long before the son of destiny Huo Yuhao's spirit awakening, the insidious Tang San had already silently left his own brand within his spirit eyes. When Huo Yuhao approached the auspicious beast, Tang San secretly activated the divine sense, forcibly bringing about an attribute guidance between their souls. He even took Huo Yuhao's ultimate love for Wang Donger, along with complex human emotions and memories, and poured them all into the originally desireless auspicious beast. As for that Wang Donger, she wasn't actually a real human at all, but merely a lower realm clone of Tang San's daughter. In order to completely take the son of destiny Huo Yuhao for his own use and turn him into his loyal dog, Tang San heartlessly split his daughter Tang Wedong's soul into three. One part of the soul was kept in his own hands, another part was born into the lower realm as Wang Donger, and the final part of the soul was precisely dropped by him into the body of the auspicious beast. It was precisely because of this forcibly injected god realm soul that not only was the auspicious beast's intelligence greatly enhanced, but her obsession with Huo Yuhao was also infinitely magnified. This laid a deep foundation for the auspicious beast's subsequent transformation and final sacrifice. Actually, the current appearance of the auspicious beast Choer after transformation is somewhat different from how she looked 10,000 years later. She still retains her own characteristics. Because 10,000 years later, when the auspicious beast chose to transform, she would precisely turn into an exact copy of Wang Donger's appearance, hair color, and eye color. Behind this seeming coincidence, it was essentially the result of that sliver of Tang Wedong's soul Tang San had struck into her body, forcibly guiding the reshaping of her physical form from the shadows. Tang San deliberately made the auspicious beast transform into Wang Donger's likeness for two core purposes. First, it was to make Huo Yuhao naturally feel a sense of closeness to her because of that familiar face. This was to continuously deepen the bond of destiny between the two and create more tragic experiences of life and death together. Second, it was to trap the auspicious beast in the identity crisis of being a substitute, thereby magnifying her emotional obsession with Huo Yuhao. In this painful and humble love, she would eventually be willing to give up everything to sacrifice herself for Huo Yuhao. One must know that the auspicious beast's core innate ability is the Eye of Destiny. She can seek good fortune and avoid disaster for herself. Logically speaking, with her abilities, she could have completely foreseen her own end of sacrifice and death in advance, thus easily avoiding the crisis. But at that time, Tang San was the high and mighty god realm enforcer, controlling the rules of the entire Douluo plane. He directly and forcibly obscured the auspicious beast's perception of destiny, making her unable to see her own tragic end, only able to follow the path designed by Tang San step by step. In the original work, Huo Yuhao fell into certain death situations multiple times, especially the Mingdu Great Explosion event that ultimately led to the auspicious beast's sacrifice. In essence, this was all orchestrated by Tang San from the shadows. He deliberately created a death trap where only the sacrifice of the auspicious beast could save Huo Yuhao. This left the auspicious beast, who deeply loved Huo Yuhao, with no other choice but to sacrifice herself, completely locking in her cruel fate of certain death. After the auspicious beast's desperate sacrifice, the layout of Tang San's grand game finally reached its final, rich harvest. The auspicious beast's dual ultimate attributes, her massive power of destiny, her golden dragon origin, and her entire soul and cultivation were all unreservedly integrated into Huo Yuhao's body. This allowed Huo Yuhao's strength to achieve a qualitative leap, completely filling in the final puzzle piece for him to inherit the god position of the god of emotion. At the same time, that sliver of divine sense belonging to Tang Wedong within the auspicious beast's body, carrying the auspicious beast's precious golden dragon origin and Stardo luck, returned to Wang Donger's body. With this, Wang Donger's soul was completely restored, her sealed memories and divine force were all recovered, and she officially turned back into the god realm's little princess, Tang Wedong. She simultaneously obtained the auspicious beast's golden dragon bloodline and power of destiny for free, and her spirit evolved from the radiant butterfly goddess to the radiant dragon god butterfly, greatly increasing her strength. This laid the most solid foundation for her subsequent smooth inheritance of the butterfly god's position. Everything was accomplished by stepping on the bones of the auspicious beast. In the original work, Tang San even shamelessly said a line to Huo Yuhao personally. Tang San said, "Back then, I chose you and subjected you to various tests according to the way of inheriting my god position. Even that Wang Choer was actually a sliver of Wedong's divine sense that I attached to that three-eyed golden lion. Otherwise, even if it were a divine beast of destiny, it couldn't have possessed so much intelligence. Only after Wang Choer completely sacrificed herself to you did that part of the soul return to Wedong, allowing Wang Donger to completely become Wedong." Seeing these appalling truths, one can only say that this guy Tang San is too good at scheming. In order to make the dignified son of destiny his completely obedient dog, and incidentally to let his daughter gain power for free and become stronger to inherit the butterfly god position. He truly schemed against the auspicious beast of the Stardo Great Forest to the point that not even a scrap of bone was left. While Lin Yuan was indignantly writing these shocking inside stories in the diary. The diary system, very thoughtfully, distributed all the detailed information regarding Huo Yuhao in this period of history 10,000 years later to all the members in the chat group. This action by the system greatly enhanced their understanding of the person Huo Yuhao and their sense of immersion in this tragedy. After reading all the materials, the chat group, which was already full of doubt, completely exploded. Silver Dragon, how dare Tang San, that hypocrite, manipulate Choer and steal my luck. This blood feud must be avenged by this seed. Emerald Guardian, this is too cruel. Choer is so simple and kind, how could this Tang San be so malicious? Abyssal Demoness, since we know the scheme, we must crush him. I want to live past 30, splitting his own daughter's soul into 3, how disgusting. 7 Treasures Little Rich Girl, the dignified god realm enforcer is actually such a despicable person who stops at nothing to achieve his goals. I really don't swing that way. At Bunny who loves Tonghulu, did you know about Tang Wedong's soul being split into 3? Bunny who loves Tonghulu, this, I really wasn't aware of. Now that I know, it only makes me feel sick. Chapter 219, Xiaowu vs. Dichoer 2-in-1. On the stage, the highly anticipated third individual match was about to begin. Xiaowu and Dichoer stood facing each other from a distance, briefly exchanging glances in midair. As the high-pitched announcement from the Great Spirit Arena host fell, spirit power surged within both of them, and they simultaneously began to release their respective spirits. Roar. A majestic beast roar erupted on the stage with a thunderous boom. The moment the phantom of Dichoer's three-eyed golden lion spirit appeared behind her, an indescribable force of ultimate fire and ultimate light swept through the arena like a tsunami. This pure, peak double ultimate attribute pressure caused all spirit masters among the tens of thousands of spectators who possessed spirits with similar attributes to instantly feel an intense sense of oppression. That feeling was like a commoner encountering a high and mighty emperor, their souls trembled uncontrollably. Even Tian Runshui, sitting in the VIP seats, was no exception as her expression shifted. One must know that her seraphim spirit also possessed ultimate attributes. Therefore, in the collision of these two similar forces, Tian Runshui could clearly perceive the formidable and overbearing nature of the other's attributes. On the main stand, even though Emperor Shui Yi was still quite a distance from Dichoer at the center of the stage, he still clearly felt that heart-palpitating pressure. His brow furrowed as he stared fixedly at the golden phantom and asked in a low voice, "What kind of spirit is this? Such powerful light force, and it even perfectly fuses such pure fire force within it." The legacy spirit of the Heaven Do imperial family was the Swan Martial Soul, which itself possessed the light attribute. But now, facing Dichoer's three-eyed golden lion, Emperor Shui Yi could clearly feel his Swan Martial Soul being ruthlessly suppressed. Ning Fengji, sitting beside him, also shook his head with a solemn face and sighed, "Your Majesty, this is the first time in my life I have seen or heard of such a peculiar spirit. It is truly unfathomable." In the Heaven Do team's preparation area, Poison Douluo Dugubo, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly snapped them open. Feeling the terrifying pressure released by the auspicious beast spirit on the stage, he couldn't help but gasp, uttering a sincere exclamation, "What an overbearing bloodline." Meanwhile, on the stage, facing Dichoer's full aura, although Xiaowu was inwardly amazed by the shocking strength her opponent displayed, she also had absolute confidence in herself, she was not weak at all. The battle was triggered instantly. Xiaowu started by launching an attack directly, her eyes flashing with pink light as she unhesitatingly used her second spirit ability, Charm. A strange ripple of mental force instantly struck Dichoer in front of her. However, at the moment the Charm spirit ability hit, the scene Xiaowu expected, of her opponent falling into a dazed state of control, did not occur. In Dichoer's clear eyes, there was only a momentary, almost imperceptible flicker of distraction. Immediately after, without even using a spirit ability, she relied solely on her own peerless mental force foundation to instantly dissolve Xiaowu's charm control. Seeing this, Xiaowu inwardly thought, as expected of the auspicious beast in charge of the Star Luo Luck, this mental force is indeed ridiculously strong. One must know that her current mental force was much higher than her rank 59 spirit power. Even a rank 70+ spirit saint, if hit by her full strength charm while off guard, would be firmly controlled for several seconds. But now, this certain hit strike was dissolved so effortlessly by Dichoer, which sufficiently showed the vastness and stability of her mental force. The tactic Xiaowu had originally planned in her mind was to first use charm to unexpectedly control the opponent. Then she would take the opportunity to use teleportation to close the distance and use the powerful wind god leg to deliver a fatal blow. Now it seemed that this tactical plan had completely fallen through. Since mental control won't work, I'll just have to go at it directly. Xiaowu gritted her teeth and decided to use teleportation directly, flashing in front of Dichoer to engage in the close quarters combat she excelled at. However, seeing the spirit power light glowing on Xiaowu, a mysterious, cunning smile curled at the corner of Dichoer's mouth. Dichoer's third deep purple spirit ring rose and lit up silently. In the next second, the strange golden mark on her forehead suddenly split open, and a vertical eye radiating mysterious light abruptly opened. This was her third spirit ability, Eye of Destiny. The effect was, the third eye briefly opens, instantly locking onto an enemy, causing their luck to plummet in a short time. They become plagued by misfortune, their attacks easily miss for no reason, and their skills are highly prone to serious errors. Sure enough, the moment the Eye of Destiny locked on, Xiaowu's figure flashed, originally intending to precisely teleport to the left side of Dichoer's body. But at the moment of spatial traversal, this originally foolproof teleportation suffered a bizarre and massive spatial deviation error. With a swish, Xiaowu's figure tumbled out of midair. She found that she had not appeared beside Dichoer, but had almost teleported directly off the edge of the stage. When she appeared, half of her foot was already hanging over the boundary line of the stage. If she had deviated even one more inch, she would have been disqualified for going out of bounds. Fortunately, Xiaowu's combat reaction speed was very fast. At the critical moment when her body was about to lose balance and fall, she exerted force from her waist and took a perilous leap backward, finally returning to the safe area of the stage. Xiaowu was drenched in sweat. She patted her rapidly heaving chest with relief and panted, "Whoa. That really scared me to death." Then, Xiaowu looked up at Dichoer with deep curiosity and wariness, asking, "Is this a special effect of your third spirit ability from just now? It can actually interfere with spatial coordinates. What a bizarre ability." At this time, in the spectator stands, seeing this thrilling scene, Oscar scratched his head in confusion and turned to Grandmaster to ask. "Grandmaster, I don't quite understand the third spirit ability of Blazing Academy's Dichoer. Xiaowu was a spirit king, how could she make such a huge low-level mistake while using teleportation?" Yu Xiaoqing was actually also completely bewildered and didn't understand the mystery at all. But to maintain his image, he could only fake a cough and analyze through gritted teeth. Ahem, according to my observations, this should be a very rare mental interference skill. She likely used vast mental force to instantly interfere with the opponent's locking precision while performing a spatial spirit ability, which is why the teleportation deviated. On the stage, facing Xiaowu's question, Dichoer only smiled playfully and did not answer directly. "Do you want to know? I'll tell you after this match is completely over." Before her voice had even faded, Dichoer gave Xiaowu no more chance to breathe. The first purple spirit ring on her body instantly shone. First spirit skill, Golden Knee Claw. 5 golden claws, each over a foot long, instantly condensed at Dichoer's fingertips. These claws were also accompanied by sizzling high-temperature flames. They were not only incomparably sharp but also possessed the terrifying characteristic of being able to easily tear through the opponent's spirit power defense. Dichoer pushed off with her toes, her figure like a bolt of golden lightning. Her speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, she closed in on Xiaowu, swinging a claw fiercely. Facing the oncoming scorching wind, with the lesson from that heart-stopping error just now, Xiaowu didn't dare use teleportation to dodge at will anymore. After all, no one knew how long the luck-reducing effect of Dichoer's bizarre third spirit ability lasted. If the next teleportation failed again and sent her directly out of the arena, she would really have nowhere to cry. Losing the match like that would be too frustrating. Seeing the claws approaching, Xiao Wu's eyes narrowed, and the fifth black 10,000-year spirit ring on her body finally rose thunderously at this moment. The fifth spirit ability was activated. Countless silver spatial blade threads, difficult to see with the naked eye, instantly entwined around Xiao Wu's long legs. According to Lin Yuan's intention, the fifth spirit ability Xiao Wu obtained now did not follow her mother's cultivation path to condense the soft bones lock spirit ability as in the original work. Instead, it had directly turned into a spatial attribute spirit ability with terrifying lethality, named Spatial Strangling. This powerful spirit ability required perfect coordination with her agile leg techniques to exert the maximum cutting effect in actual combat. It not only significantly enhanced lethality in close combat but could also transform the power in her legs into long-range spatial blades to injure the enemy when necessary. Moreover, her sharp spatial blades could perfectly combine with the wind blades produced by the wind god leg she had learned, forming a double strangulation. However, she hadn't exposed this trump card when dealing with Huo Wu before because she felt it wasn't necessary. Immediately after, Xiao Wu's figure moved like the wind, directly meeting Di Chouer with the exquisite moves from the wind god leg, vigorous grass in the wind, and stormy gale. The sky full of leg shadows, like a violent storm, forcefully met Di Chouer's fierce golden knee claw. Because Xiao Wu's legs were tightly entwined with spatial blade threads, every time her jade-like legs kicked out and collided with the opponent, countless tiny and fatal spatial cutting cracks would instantly be generated in the area. This spatial cutting force made even Di Chouer, as an auspicious beast, feel very uncomfortable, and several shallow bloodstains soon appeared on her arms. After dozens of consecutive rounds of collision, Di Chouer simply stopped entangling. Golden light flared in her eyes as she suddenly pulled away, finding a perfect opportunity. The fifth black 10,000-year spirit ring on Di Chouer's body suddenly lit up, and she launched her fifth spirit ability directly at Xiao Wu, sky-burning golden flame. Boom! Di Chouer opened her arms, and a massive tsunami of golden flames instantly erupted, covering half the stage. The burning power of this sky-burning golden flame was simply terrifyingly strong. It could not only instantly melt most ordinary defensive spirit abilities, but it also had the characteristic of sticking like a maggot on a bone, continuously burning the spirit power inside the enemy's body. Facing this overwhelming golden sea of fire, everyone in the spectator stands instantly gasped. Everyone could deeply feel the power and dominance of this fifth spirit ability. Flender said with a solemn face, the temperature of this fire is too frightening. Even if a high-level spirit saint stood here, as long as they weren't a pure defense-type spirit master, they would inevitably be seriously injured by this strike. This included Tang San, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, Dai Mubai, Yu Xiaogang, and others. Among them, Ma Hongjun, who possessed the evil fire phoenix spirit, felt it most clearly and profoundly. After Di Chouer released her ultimate fire spirit, Ma Hongjun could clearly feel that the evil fire within his body was completely suppressed. He discovered with horror that facing the young girl on the stage, he couldn't even muster a single shred of battle intent. Even if they were at the same level of cultivation, it would be the same. This was a most intuitive instinct from the depths of the spirit's bloodline. Looking at the sea of fire that swallowed everything, some people even closed their eyes in pity, believing that Xiao Wu would definitely be unable to block this strike. However, the scene that followed left everyone dumbfounded. Xiao Wu, who was in the center of the sea of fire, suddenly emitted a dazzling burst of golden light that covered her entire body. Xiao Wu simply reached out her right hand quite casually and actually blocked Di Chouer's spirit ability unharmed. This was her proud absolute defense, Paragon Golden Body. Xiao Wu, draped in golden light, looked at the slightly surprised Di Chouer through the sea of fire and couldn't help but giggle. Didn't expect that, did you? This lady has such a defensive skill, Xiao Wu boasted proudly. However, Di Chouer on the opposite side did not show any sense of defeat. Instead, she also followed with a smile and asked back in a faint tone, is that so? This skill of yours is indeed very powerful, but how long can this defensive skill of yours actually last? Hearing this sentence, Xiao Wu immediately realized that something was not quite right. She knew very well in her heart that her current Paragon Golden Body could only last for a short 5 seconds. But now, seeing that the 5-second duration of this golden fire released by Di Chouer was almost up, these damn flames still showed no sign of wanting to dissipate completely. Moreover, this golden flame had a very strong adhesiveness, sticking tightly to the golden light shield around her body like glue. Xiao Wu was greatly alarmed. Don't tell me I have to use Paragon Golden Body a second time in a row just to block this one move. However, in the brief moment Xiao Wu was lost in hesitation, Di Chouer would certainly not leave her any reaction time to think. In the next moment, Di Chouer joined her hands, and a light spear formed by compressed pure light force quickly condensed in her hands. Holding the long spear and carrying an indomitable aura, Di Chouer swept directly toward Xiao Wu in the sea of fire. Chapter 220, The 9 Transformations of the True Dragon Show Their Might. Yu Tianqin's shock, 2 in 1. Watching the radiant spear sweeping toward her, Xiao Wu's expression changed instantly. If she took this strike head-on, she would definitely be heavily injured once the duration of the Paragon Golden Body ended. With no other choice, Xiao Wu could only grit her teeth and risk using her teleportation skill again to dodge. However, this time, her strip luck wasn't as good as it was before, just as she was in the middle of activating teleportation. A cunning smile curled at the corners of Di Chouer's mouth. The eye of destiny on her forehead shone brightly as she activated her third spirit skill once more, intensifying the stripping of Xiao Wu's fortune and the spatial interference. Swish. The space twisted eerily. This time, Xiao Wu didn't even have a chance to struggle. She was completely teleported outside the boundaries of the arena by the distorted spatial coordinates. With a thud, Xiao Wu landed on the floor outside the ring. Quite unfortunately, at that exact moment, the 5-second duration of the Paragon Golden Body on her also officially came to an end. The residual golden flames clinging to her body instantly lost their barrier and began burning directly into her skin. The soul-piercing sting caused her to gasp. The flames continued to burn through the little spirit power she had left in her body. However, in the next moment, those troublesome flames on her body quickly receded like a ebbing tide. This was because Di Chouer on the stage had gracefully taken them back. At this moment, every spectator in the audience, and even the experienced host, fell into a deathly silence. They gaped at each other, wide-eyed. No one expected that this match, which should have been earth-shakingly intense, would end in such a hasty and almost comical manner. A dignified rank 59 Spirit King had actually made such a foolish mistake at a critical moment, teleporting herself out of the ring and getting eliminated. In the eyes of ordinary spectators, no matter how they thought about it, this seemed like a massive, low-level blunder. Only the high-ranking spirit masters could see that the reason Xiao Wu made such consecutive, absurd errors was entirely due to the influence of that eerie third spirit skill Di Chouer had released earlier. That was an extraordinary and terrifying spirit skill. Afterward, the eliminated Xiao Wu could only return to the Heaven Do team's preparation area with a look of disappointment. Lin Yuan smiled as he stepped forward, gently patting Xiao Wu's shoulder and comforting her by saying that her performance on stage had been very good and there was no need for self-blame. Lin Yuan explained patiently, don't be fooled by the fact that the spirit power rank difference between you two is only a mere 4 ranks. However, that Dichoer possesses rare dual ultimate attributes. Those are the pinnacles of light and fire. If a normal high-level spirit Douluo encountered her, they probably wouldn't be able to defeat her, let alone you, who are only a spirit king. Lin Yuan rubbed Xiao Wu's head. Even though you, a high-level spirit king, are certainly not simple, losing to those attributes and weird abilities is nothing to be ashamed of. Hearing Lin Yuan's comfort, the bit of gloom in Xiao Wu's heart instantly vanished, and she nodded obediently. Lin Yuan then turned to his teammates and asked, so, for the 4th individual match, who wants to go up? As his voice fell, a brief silence filled the preparation area. Even Du Guyan and Zhu Zuyun, who had already successfully promoted to Spirit Emperor, had a flicker of hesitation in their eyes. Du Guyan knew in her heart that although she possessed the top-tier cultivation technique provided by the system, the 9 transformations of the true dragon, but her spirit had not reached the level of an ultimate attribute after all. If she faced the suppression of Dichoer's dual ultimate attributes on the stage, she could probably only hope for a 50-50 chance at best. Beside her, Zhu Zuyun faced similar concerns. Although her 9-yin manual had reached the stage of minor achievement and she had learned the accompanying exquisite martial skills and eerie movement techniques. Don't say the 9-yin manual doesn't have a dark attribute. What the system gave Zhu Zuyun would naturally lean more towards Zhou Zhurio's version, just with extra martial skills. However, the nether attribute of her spirit had also not yet evolved to the level of ultimate darkness, so she would be countered when facing ultimate light. However, neither of them were the type of weak women who would shrink before a fight. They both had the pride of the strong in their bones. After hesitating for only a moment, the two of them stepped forward simultaneously and said firmly in unison, I'll go. Lin Yuan looked at the two of them, whose battle intent was high, and couldn't help but smile with relief. He joked, since you both are scrambling to go, for the sake of fairness, let's have you two decide who goes up with rock paper scissors again. Hearing this familiar suggestion, the two of them smiled helplessly at each other and then began a simple rock paper scissors match. In the end, Du Guyan's luck was slightly better, and she won. Thus, she would represent the Heaven Do team in this crucial match. Just as she turned to take the stage, Du Gubo, who was sitting behind her, suddenly opened his eyes and reminded her with a solemn expression. Yan Yan, keep your wits about you later. I can clearly feel a pure, superior dragon might coming from that Dichoer spirit. This shows that her bloodline level is extremely high. When you fight her later, you must be extremely careful and must not be careless. Du Guyan nodded seriously, indicating she would be doubly careful. She calculated in her mind that Xiao Wu had already consumed quite a lot of Dichoer's spirit power on stage earlier. She was now a spirit emperor in her prime. If she couldn't win even like this, wouldn't she still lose? That would be too embarrassing. Then, Du Guyan walked slowly onto the central stage with confident steps. The image on the big screen immediately switched, displaying Du Guyan's detailed personal information. Du Guyan, Spirit, Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor, Rank 62 Attack System Battle Spirit Emperor. Spirit Ring Configuration, Yellow, Yellow, Purple, Black, Black, Black. When this information appeared before the eyes of the tens of thousands of spectators, the reaction within the Great Spirit Arena was eerily quiet. Since they already had freaks like Xiao Wu and Dichoer as references, the audience's psychological endurance had been significantly raised. Now, looking at Du Guyan's Rank 62 cultivation and those 3 terrifying 10,000-year Spirit Ring configurations. Although the audience still felt very surprised, they no longer found it so bizarre or strange. It could be said that after experiencing one shock after another, everyone's nerves had become somewhat numb. They just silently lamented in their hearts what kind of dog shit luck the Heaven Do Royal Academy had this year to be able to gather so many monsters together. On the stage, Du Guyan let out a clear dragon roar and instantly released her Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor spirit. 2 crystal clear, emerald-like sharp dragon horns quickly grew on her forehead, emitting a dragon clan pressure. At the same time, her hands and arms were completely covered by a layer of fine, hard, emerald-green dragon scales. Her 10 fingers also became long and sharp, transforming directly into a pair of massive dragon claws that emitted a ghostly poisonous luster, as she stared majestically at the opposite Dichoer. The match officially began. Dichoer did not underestimate her at all. The Eye of Destiny on her forehead instantly opened, and her 3rd spirit ring shone brightly. 3rd spirit skill, Eye of Destiny, activate. Facing this eerie lock-on, Du Guyan gave a cold laugh, and the 3rd purple spirit ring on her body suddenly lit up. 3rd spirit skill, Jade Phosphorus Berserk. This was a powerful buff-type spirit skill that not only allowed her own attack and speed to instantly soar by 100% but also granted significant immunity to mental interference and pain. Taking advantage of the sudden burst of speed from the berserk state, Du Guyan's figure flickered as she immediately performed the first style of the 9 transformations of the true dragon, Phantom Dragon Steps. Once activated, her movement speed instantly increased by 100%. Moreover, during high-speed movement, there was a chance to be immune to the enemy's lock-on type spirit skills. In an instant, her figure became dreamlike and unpredictable, moving across the stage like a roaming dragon. When performing the Phantom Dragon Steps, several realistic dragon shadows actually appeared around Du Guyan's body, constantly crisscrossing in Dichoer's line of sight. Seeing that her lock-on had actually failed, Dichoer frowned slightly, and her first spirit skill, Golden Lion Claw, instantly activated. Golden claws carrying high-temperature flames condensed at her fingertips, and with a momentum that could tear through anything, she lunged toward Du Guyan. Du Guyan neither dodged nor retreated. Facing the Golden Lion Claw, she used the second killing move of the 9 transformations of the True Dragon, Soul-Shattering Dragon Claw. She perfectly fused the domineering Jade Phosphorus poison force within her body with her surging spirit power, concentrating it all onto her hands, which transformed into indestructible physical Dragon Claw phantoms. After activating this move, her hand attack power suddenly increased by 100%. Furthermore, while each strike tore through the air, it carried a strong corrosive poison effect. The most lethal part was that this soul-shattering Dragon Claw also carried a rare, shield-breaking, effect. When the 2 pairs of claws collided violently in midair, the soul-shattering Dragon Claw directly dealt double the terrifying destructive damage to Dichoer's protective golden light. Bang! The 2 violent forces exploded. Dichoer felt a sinister force spreading along the tips of her claws and had to temporarily retreat. Having succeeded in one strike, Du Guyan pursued the victory, her 4th black spirit ring flashing with light. 4th spirit skill, Jade Phosphorus Poison Dragon Drill. Du Guyan's entire being began to rotate at high speed in midair, transforming into a massive emerald green tornado that carried extreme piercing power and poison as it drilled fiercely toward Dichoer. Facing this sharp offensive, Dichoer snorted coldly, and her 4th spirit ring suddenly lit up. 4th spirit skill, Golden Dragon Roar. A violent dragon roar capable of shattering the soul erupted from her mouth. The powerful sound wave and mental shock instantly swept across the arena, forcibly interrupting Du Guyan's offensive rhythm. Immediately after, Di Choer found a flaw, and her fifth spirit ring shone brilliantly. Fifth spirit skill, Sky Burning Golden Flame. She sprayed out a large area of golden flames, which carried extreme high temperatures and the special effect of continuously burning spirit power, instantly engulfing Du Guyan. Under the suppression of the ultimate flames, Du Guyan did indeed appear somewhat disheveled at first, retreating step by step. But she did not panic in the face of danger, instantly lighting up her fifth spirit ring. Fifth spirit skill, Dragon Emperor Soul Devouring Wave, activate. An emerald light wave mixed with poison and destructive power gushed out, forcibly tearing a gap in the sea of fire. At the same time, Du Guyan performed the third defensive technique of the 9 transformations of the true dragon, Dragon Scale Golden Body. In the blink of an eye, a layer of poisonous dragon scale armor emitting a ghostly green light quickly condensed on Du Guyan's exposed skin. This layer of armor was like a physical substance, causing her own defense to instantly skyrocket by 100%, as she stubbornly withstood the burning of the sky-burning golden flame. Not only that, the insane damage reflection effect of the dragon scale golden body was instantly triggered. When Di Choer took the opportunity to close in and smash a punch into the dragon scale armor, the armor directly reflected 30% of the damage, transforming into a massive force that shook back toward Di Choer. Furthermore, this reflected force also carried the powerful, lethal poisoning effect of the Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor. Di Choer let out a muffled groan as she was shaken back several steps. She felt a domineering toxin invading through her meridians and had to quickly divert her spirit power to suppress it with all her might. As the battle progressed, the situation on the stage began to undergo a subtle reversal. The sixth black spirit ring on Du Guyan's body flashed. Her sixth spirit skill, Jade Phosphorus World-Destroying Claw, erupted with world-shaking power as she engaged in close-quarters combat with Di Choer. From being somewhat suppressed at the beginning to the middle stage, Du Guyan began to fight on equal terms with Di Choer, relying on the exquisite moves of the 9 transformations of the true dragon. The two of them went back and forth, the roar of spirit skill collisions never ending, leaving the audience below the stage enthralled. By the end, the scales of victory finally tilted completely. Because Di Choer's consumption had been too great in her previous battle with Xiao Wu, and she now needed to divide her attention to resist the troublesome Dragon Emperor poison. After a long period of high-intensity combat, her spirit power finally ran dry first. The golden light on her body dimmed, and she helplessly raised her hand to surrender. This brilliant and varied battle allowed the Heaven Do team to successfully take their first point in the individual round-robin match. The 9 transformations of the true dragon techniques that Du Guyan had displayed caused a massive sensation among the spectators in the outer stands, especially where the Thunder Academy was located. Yu Tianqin of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan was currently staring fixedly at Du Guyan as she withdrew her spirit on the stage. His hands gripped the railing in front of him tightly, his eyes filled with undisguised shock and disbelief, and his chest heaved violently. The family legacy he had always been proud of was that regional dragon transformation ability that gradually developed as spirit rings were added. From childhood to adulthood, he firmly believed that this was the strongest and most authentic dragon secret technique on the entire Douluo Continent, the foundation for the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan to stand among the upper 3 sects. But today, after witnessing with his own eyes that set of 9 transformations of the true dragon performed by Du Guyan, Yu Tianqin began to doubt his life. Whether it was the phantom dragon steps that moved like a roaming dragon and could grant immunity to lock-ons, the soul-shattering dragon claw that was corrosive, shield-breaking, and indestructible, or the dragon scale golden body that was as solid as a rock and reflected damage with poison. Each of Du Guyan's moves appeared purer and more domineering than the dragon transformation their Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan took pride in. Yu Tianqin swallowed hard, his heart in turmoil. Was this an ability that came with Du Guyan's spirit evolution, or was it a self-created soul skill she had realized herself? This was simply rubbing their Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan's dragon transformation secret technique into the ground. Chapter 221, Heaven Do vs. Heaven Water, Dai Mubai's Astonishment 2 in 1. After a brief moment of shock, the host of the Great Spirit Arena regained his senses. He picked up his amplification spirit tool and loudly announced the final result of this individual match. The Heaven Do Royal Team won the first individual match. On the ring, Du Guyan and Di Choer did not become hostile because of the outcome. They walked toward each other and shook hands very amicably. With a bright smile on her face, Di Choer said, "I lost this match, but the duel just now was truly satisfying." Du Guyan shook her head very humbly. "If you were at your peak state, I definitely wouldn't have been your match." After all, Di Choer had consumed too much spirit power in the previous match. Di Choer replied, "Perhaps, but your poison is really impressive. Ordinary toxins would dissipate directly upon touching the ultimate fire on my body. But your jade phosphorus snake poison is completely different, it's very stubborn. During the battle, I even needed to consume a bit of extra spirit power specifically to counteract it." After the first match ended, the Great Spirit Arena entered an intermission. The break time was half an hour. During this time, dedicated staff members moved back and forth between the outer and inner courts. They pushed small carts, selling various specialty foods and drinks. During this intermission, the audience present was not idle either. Everyone was heatedly discussing the exciting matches that had just taken place. In addition, there was another very lively topic within the Spirit Arena. That was the betting situation regarding the results of the recent matches. Before the match, some people with unique insight had bet heavily on the Heaven Do team to win. This group of people had naturally won quite a bit of money now. Of course, many people also felt that the Blazing Fire team could win because they were led by a Spirit Emperor. Those who had bet on the wrong side naturally lost a lot of money and were sighing repeatedly. Half an hour later, the second team individual match was ready to begin. According to the competition rules, opponents were still decided by drawing lots on site. If the Heaven Do team and the Blazing Fire team were drawn together again, a redraw would be required. Soon, the results of the draw were out. This time, it was the Tianshui team against the Blazing Fire team. In the preparation area, Huo Wuchuang, the captain of the Blazing Fire team, looked very helpless. Because by facing the Tianshui team, they still had no hope of winning. In his personal opinion, the comprehensive strength of the Tianshui team was too terrifying, perhaps their overall strength was even above that of the Heaven Do team. The Heaven Do team currently had only 3 Spirit Emperors, Lin Yuan, Du Guyan, and Zhu Zuyun. But what about the Tianshui team? The Spirit Emperors on the Tianshui team's registration form were as many as 4, Ji Yu Yuina, Ziji, the Ice Empress, and the Snow Empress. The names aren't easy to change, so I simply won't change them. I originally wanted to give the Ice Empress and Snow Empress different names. Furthermore, among these 4, not a single one was a low-level Spirit Emperor. This was why Lin Yuan had been startled when he first saw the information about the Tianshui team. It was fine if these powerful vicious beasts wanted to join the fun with the Tianshui team. But the cultivation levels they displayed were pushed so high. This made Lin Yuan, who knew the truth, feel a lot of pressure in his heart. The match began, and the Blazing Fire team sent out other members of their team. On the Tianshui team side, they sent out the one with the weakest cultivation in their team, Yu Hero. Yu Hero's rank was level 39, and she was an attack system spirit elder. Her spirit was a coral barracuda type. As for Shui Yue and the other members of the Heaven Water Girl group from the original work, in this powerful version of the Tianshui team, they had all been reduced to substitute members. And this 3-grade elemental academy exchange tournament stipulated that only official members were allowed to take the stage. So those substitutes could only act as cheerleaders below the stage today. On the ring, Yu Hero relied on her spirit advantage to successfully win one match. But she lost the second match due to excessive spirit power consumption. Subsequently, Shui Binger, the captain of the Tianshui team, personally took the stage. Shui Binger's strength was formidable. After taking the stage, she took down the remaining 2 individual matches in one go. In the second team individual match, the Tianshui team defeated the Blazing Fire team. The powerful ice attribute suppression displayed by Shui Binger greatly surprised the audience present. Bursts of exclamations erupted from the stands as everyone discussed the strength of this Heaven Water captain. This Shui Binger from the Tianshui team is also a very rare spirit king. The power erupted from her Ice Phoenix spirit is just too terrifying. Yeah, the fire attribute of the Blazing Fire team couldn't gain the slightest advantage in front of her Ice Phoenix. In the outer audience seats, Ma Hongjun was dazed. Because his spirit was the evil Fire Phoenix, which happened to be of the opposite attribute to Shui Binger's Ice Phoenix. Ma Hongjun watched Shui Binger showing great divine might on the ring and couldn't help but turn to ask Flender. Teacher, that's also a Phoenix spirit, and I have a Phoenix spirit too. Why is the gap in strength between us so large? Flender was speechless upon hearing this question and didn't even want to say anything to this worthless disciple of his. Flender cursed inwardly, you only know how to be lazy every day. Now that someone else is showing their power, you have the nerve to ask me where the gap is. Don't you know how much sweat others have put in behind the scenes to cultivate? Yu Xiaobing also glanced at Ma Hongjun and shook his head. If this talent isn't utilized properly, it truly is a waste. At this time, inside the Heaven Do team's preparation area, Lin Yuan watched Shui Binger's performance, his heart stirred, and he opened his diary. In the diary, he wrote down the past events of Tang San and Shui Binger's battle from the original work. Seeing Shui Binger's Ice Phoenix reminds me of Tang San in the original plot. In the original Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament, when Tang San fought Shui Binger back then, he was beaten until he had no power to fight back. Shui Binger's Ice Phoenix spirit possesses top-tier freezing control and offensive capabilities. Tang San's proud blue silver grass was completely useless under the low temperatures. That battle directly beat the arrogant Tang San into losing his confidence. After the match, he even fell into severe self-doubt and once wanted to give up on his blue silver grass spirit. If Douluo hadn't counseled him at the end, he probably would have completely degenerated. And it was also from Douluo's mouth that Tang San truly learned the conditions for the birth of twin spirits. It wasn't because the Clear Sky Hammer made up for the remaining 9+ ranks of spirit power as Yu Xiaobing said, but because Tang San's blue silver grass and Clear Sky Hammer spirits were of equal quality. This content from the diary copy was soon seen by the girls in various places. Looking at the description of Tang San in the diary, the girls all felt that Tang San's hard nature was simply too fragile. Du Guyan looked at the diary and directly posted her views in the chat group. I want to live past 30. This Tang San's psychological endurance is too poor. Just because a one-match loss, he actually wanted to give up his spirit out of self-abandonment. I want to live past 30. In the end, it was actually Grandpa who went to counsel him. The other girls in the group also voiced their agreement one after another. One must know that in the original works plotline of the original world, after Du Guyan was defeated by Tang San in the spirit arena back then, she hadn't abandoned herself like Tang San at all. Du Guyan's choice at the time was to strive for improvement and work even harder at her cultivation after returning. Hell Civet, a true powerhouse should face their failures head-on. 7 Treasures little rich girl, exactly. If you lose, just win it back. What kind of man loses confidence at the drop of a hat? Supreme Pontiff, to have twin spirits but only this much hard nature, it's hard to achieve great things. The girl's evaluation of Tang San plummeted to rock bottom at this moment. The third individual match would be held on time in the afternoon. At that time, it would be the Heaven Do team against the Tianshui team. The afternoon sunlight spilled onto the ring of the Great Spirit Arena. In the Heaven Do preparation area, Lin Yuan and several team members made the decision on who would fight after some discussion. They decided to send Zhu Zuqing to fight the first round. On the opposite side, the Tianshui team still let Yu Hero take the stage as the first runner. As the members of both sides took the stage, Zhu Zuqing's information immediately appeared on the large screen. Zhu Zuqing, Spirit, Nether Spirit Cat Martial Soul. Level 55 Agility Attack System Spirit King. Spirit Ring Configuration, 2 yellow, 1 purple, 2 black. Once this information came out, it ignited the entire venue once again. In the outer audience seats, Daimubai stared fixedly at the large screen. Upon seeing Zhu Zuqing's level 55 rank, he was completely stunned in place. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, even his body was trembling slightly. He shouted frantically in his heart, how is this possible? Both had run away from the family to escape their fate, so how did Zhu Zuqing silently break through to become a powerful spirit king? While he himself was still only a level 37 spirit elder, she was nearly 20 ranks of spirit power higher than him. How on earth did the Heaven Do Royal Academy do it to let her cultivation level increase so quickly? This cultivation speed, which completely defied common sense, made Daimubai feel a wave of despair. Not just Daimubai, but the representatives of several other major powers present also had deep doubts. Platinum Bishop Solace of Spirit Hall furrowed his brows tightly, constantly ordering his subordinates to investigate the background of the Heaven Do Academy. They all didn't understand. Had the Heaven Do Academy mastered some heaven-defying cultivation resources? Emperor Shuiyi and the 3 great committee members in the main seats, looking at the puzzled gazes of those around them, were actually equally confused in their hearts, but they all knew they couldn't ask blindly. They understood that this was all due to the secrets hidden on Lin Yuan. And if Lin Yuan were just an ordinary genius commoner, they might have asked long ago. But unfortunately, Lin Yuan's identity was not ordinary at all. Over these years, they had also managed to gather some information through various channels. They knew that the mysterious master standing behind Lin Yuan was a super Douluo with a cultivation level as high as rank 99. They simply couldn't afford to provoke this kind of existence at the ceiling of the continent's combat power. Therefore, the best way to handle it was to pretend to know nothing and treat Lin Yuan with great respect. On the ring, the referee announced the start of the match. Yu Hero was the first to release her spirit, the Coral Barracuda, and 2 yellow and 1 purple spirit rings lit up. Zhu Zuqing's expression was cold as she merged with her nether spirit cat martial soul. Her cat ears and cat tail appeared accordingly, and her posture became even more agile. Facing a level 55 Spirit King, Yu Hero didn't dare to hold anything back. She directly activated her third spirit skill, Coral Water Wave Array, attempting to use the water flow to restrict Zhu Zuqing's speed. Zhu Zuqing gave a cold snort, and the first spirit ring beneath her feet flashed with light. First spirit skill, Nether 100 Claws, activated. Her figure turned into a black phantom, instantly penetrating the blockade of the water wave array. Her sharp claws left hundreds of black scratch marks in the air, directly shredding Yu Hero's defensive water flow. Yu Hero was greatly shocked and hurriedly retreated, while simultaneously firing several water arrows to counterattack. Zhu Zuqing did not retreat but advanced instead, as her second soul ring lit up. Second spirit skill, Hell Rush Stab. Her body accelerated instantly, forming a straight black shadow that directly broke through the interception of the water arrows. Just as Yu Hero was preparing to condense her spirit power to form a water shield for defense, the third purple spirit ring on Zhu Zuqing's body suddenly burst with light. Third spirit skill, Nether Shadow Motion, activated. This was a pure buff type spirit ability. Under the enhancement of the spirit ability, Zhu Zuqing's own attack power and movement speed skyrocketed instantly. Her speed was so fast that even Yu Hero's vision could not capture it. Seeing this scene from the stands, Daimubai couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This speed is too terrifying, Daimubai murmured to himself. Beside him, Yu Xiaobing was also full of shock as he stared intently at Zhu Zuqing on the ring. This kind of explosive power has already far exceeded the scope of an ordinary agility attack system Spirit King. Her movements have not a single bit of redundancy, her combat techniques can be called perfect and flawless. Ma Hongjun and Oscar were even more dazed, they couldn't even see Zhu Zuqing's afterimages clearly. Is this really someone around the same age as us? Oscar swallowed hard. On the ring, Zhu Zuqing had already appeared behind Yu Hero. Feeling the chill behind her, Yu Hero instantly turned around and poured all her spirit power into the water shield. Zhu Zuqing's eyes were icy as her fourth black 10,000-year spirit ring lit up. Fourth spirit skill, Nether Bone Eroding Piercer, activated. This spirit ability specifically enhanced Zhu Zuqing's defense breaking capability. Moreover, when attacking, it would carry an extremely strong nether corrosive penetration effect. Zhu Zuqing's hands turned into sharp claws as she directly used the 9-yin bone clawing hand from the 9-yin manual. She perfectly combined the penetration of the spirit ability with the sharpness of the martial skill, and her claws, carrying a dark black glow, slammed hard into Yu Hero's water shield. Without encountering any resistance, the solid water shield was instantly sliced open, losing its defensive power. The nether corrosive power rapidly spread along the breach in the water shield, directly dismantling Yu Hero's remaining spirit power defense. Zhu Zuqing's claws stopped steadily in front of Yu Hero's fair neck. The chilling aura emitted from the claws made Yu Hero's entire body stiffen, not daring to move an inch. From beginning to end, Zhu Zuqing had only used a very short amount of time. Relying on the exquisite coordination of these 4 spirit abilities in the 9-yin bone clawing hand, she easily won the first match. Yu Hero's face was full of bitterness as she withdrew her spirit and said, "I lost. Thank you for showing mercy." Zhu Zuqing nodded, retracted her claws, and stood quietly on the ring waiting for her next opponent. In the outer audience seats, Daimubai's hands were clenched tightly into fists, his nails sinking into his flesh, as he looked at the powerful young woman on the stage with a face full of unwillingness. Zuqing, just what have you gone through to become this strong? He had originally thought his cultivation speed at the academy was already considered decent, but now compared to Zhu Zuqing, he felt like a ridiculous joke. Chapter 222, Zhu Zuqing vs. Ziji 2-in-1. Although Zhu Zuqing used 4 spirit abilities at once, because she cultivates the 9-yin manual, her own spirit power is extremely dense, with a quality several times higher than the spirit power cultivated through other meditation methods. Moreover, it has the effect of being endless and ceaseless, constantly recovering spirit power. For an agility-type spirit master, when not assassinating, what is needed is to be fast, accurate, and ruthless. That is why as soon as she entered the arena, she used her previous few spirit abilities on her opponent. After one combo, Yu Hero lost. The host stood on the stage and announced loudly, "In the first match, the Heaven Do team's Zhu Zuqing wins. Please have the Tianshui team send out their second contestant." As the voice fell, a buzz of discussion erupted from the audience. Everyone could see that the consumption of Zhu Zuqing's combo just now was immense, but she stood on the stage with steady breathing and long, even breaths, showing no signs of exhaustion at all. Tianshui preparation area. Yu Hero walked to Shui Binger with her head lowered, her eyes slightly red. "Sister Bingbing, I lost." Yu Hero looked full of guilt. She knew she didn't lose unjustly, but as a member of the Tianshui team, being defeated by the opponent in an overwhelming manner in the first battle made her feel inevitably sad. Shui Binger smiled, shook her head, and reached out to hold her shoulder. "It's not your fault, the opponent's strength is too great." Shui Binger's voice was gentle. "Besides, being able to force a spirit king to use 4 spirit abilities, you should be proud." Yu Hero looked up, her eyes filled with a touch of emotion. Shui Binger patted her shoulder, then turned around, casting her gaze toward the competition stage. "Let me handle the next match." Her tone was calm but carried an unquestionable confidence. As the core of the Tianshui team, Shui Binger's strength was unquestionable, and her Ice Phoenix spirit was an even more top-tier existence. But just as she was about to step forward, a hand reached out from the side and gently pressed on her arm. "No, Bingbing, I will take this one." The voice was lazy and carried a hint of seductiveness. Shui Binger turned to look. Ziji was leaning against the back of the chair in the preparation area, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, and her eyes held a hint of interest. "I'm quite interested in this person. Her attributes are already close to ultimate darkness." Ziji stood up, her long purple hair cascading down like a waterfall, her posture elegant and composed. "Although you could also win if you went up, the third match might not be certain." Shui Binger looked at Ziji and was silent for a moment. She understood Ziji's strength and her personality. Since Ziji had volunteered to fight, it meant she was indeed interested in Zhu Zuqing. "All right," Shui Binger nodded. "However, if you go up, they will definitely send out a Spirit Emperor powerhouse next." Shui Binger's gaze turned to the Shrek preparation area, landing on a few people. "And among the opponent's Spirit Emperor powerhouses, Zhu Zuyun is Zhu Qing's sister. She will likely be suppressed by your Yin Water attribute." She paused and continued. "Du Guyan's spirit is the Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor, a dragon-type spirit. In terms of bloodline, she should also be suppressed by your spirit." Shui Binger's analysis was clear and hit the nail on the head. In that case, the high probability is that the one they send out might be Lin Yuan. As soon as the name Lin Yuan was spoken, the atmosphere in the Tianshui preparation area paused slightly. Ziji's mouth curled slightly, and a glint of light flashed in her eyes. Isn't that just right? Her voice carried a hint of anticipation. Isn't the purpose of this exchange competition to witness his strength? As she spoke, Ziji had already stepped toward the competition stage. Her pace was neither hurried nor slow, her long skirt swaying gently, and her whole person exuded a natural aura. Bingdi watched Ziji's back from behind and snorted. She thinks too much. What's with all this talk of suppression? I could have gone up too. She crossed her arms, looking unhappy, but didn't actually step forward to stop her. On the competition stage, Zhu Zuqing was closing her eyes to regulate her breathing. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual circulated slowly in her body, and the consumed spirit power was recovering at an astonishing speed. Although the combo just now consumed a lot, her spirit power had already recovered more than half by this moment. This is the terrifying aspect of the 9-yin manual, endless and ceaseless, a constant stream. She opened her eyes and happened to see Ziji walking onto the competition stage. At that moment, Zhu Zuqing's gaze tightened slightly. She felt a strong sense of oppression from this woman, not from her spirit power rank, but from some instinct deep within her bloodline. The Hell Civet spirit trembled slightly within her body, as if it had encountered a natural enemy. Ziji stood opposite Zhu Zuqing and looked her up and down. A rank 55 spirit king capable of unleashing such an explosion just now, truly not bad. Her voice was not loud, but it clearly reached Zhu Zuqing's ears. But next, I won't give you too many opportunities. As soon as she finished speaking, Ziji released her own spirit power. The aura of a rank 62 spirit emperor erupted, and deep purple spirit power surged out like a tide, covering half of the competition stage. A gasp of surprise erupted from the audience. Rank 62, the Tianshui team still has such a powerhouse. That spirit ring configuration, purple, 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 black, black, black. How is this possible? Abyssal demon dragon spirit, what kind of spirit is this? Never heard of it. Zhu Zuqing's expression became solemn. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual operated at full power, and the spirit power of the Hell Civet was also raised to the extreme. The referee raised his hand, his gaze sweeping over the two of them. The match begins. The moment the voice fell, Zhu Zuqing moved, her figure was like a streak of black lightning, instantly disappearing from where she stood. First spirit skill, Hell Rush Stab. Zhu Zuqing's figure appeared on Ziji's left side, the sharp claws on her right hand carrying fierce spirit power, stabbing straight at Ziji's ribs. The speed of this strike was extremely fast, the angle tricky, it was the raid style the Hell Civet was best at. Ziji didn't even move her feet, she just turned slightly to the side and waved her right hand casually. Third spirit skill, Undercurrent Surge. A wave of black water surged from Ziji's palm, wrapping around Zhu Zuqing's arm like a living creature. The water wave looked slow, but it was astonishingly fast, and it carried an extremely cold aura. Zhu Zuqing immediately changed her move, her figure flickering again. Second spirit skill, Hell 100 Claws. Countless claw shadows bloomed in the air, each carrying sharp spirit power, enveloping Ziji from all directions. The coverage of this move was extremely wide and the speed was extremely fast, giving the opponent almost no room to dodge. Ziji then raised her right hand, her 5 fingers slightly spread, a black water ball condensed in her palm, and then instantly exploded. Fourth spirit skill, Curtain of the Abyss. A layer of black water curtain unfolded around Ziji, blocking all the claw shadows. The sharp spirit power attacks caused ripples on the water curtain but couldn't penetrate it at all. Moreover, the yin water attribute attached to the water curtain began to backlash, and a cold aura transmitted along Zhu Zuqing's spirit power. Zhu Zuqing frowned and retreated rapidly. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual operated, quickly dispelling the cold aura that had invaded her body. But alarm bells were already ringing in her heart. This opponent's spirit power quality was extremely high, and the suppression in terms of attributes was very obvious. She paused and the corners of her mouth raised slightly. Your speed is indeed very fast, but unfortunately, my yin water attribute happens to suppress your hell attribute. Zhu Zuqing did not respond. A glint flashed in her eyes, and the spirit power in her body condensed again. Third spirit skill, Hell Shadow. Black light bloomed from Zhu Zuqing, and her figure became even more illusory. This spirit ability could significantly increase attack power and speed. It was the core buffing skill of the Hell Civet. Zhu Zuqing's aura instantly climbed a level, and her figure disappeared from the spot again, her speed so fast that it was almost impossible to catch with the naked eye. Ziji narrowed her eyes slightly, her mental force perception fully unfolded. Zhu Zuqing appeared behind Ziji, her right claw grabbing down with fierce wind. Ziji dodged to the side, but Zhu Zuqing's speed was nearly 50% faster than before. One claw missed, and the second claw had already followed closely. Ziji dodged continuously, but found that she actually couldn't keep up with Zhu Zuqing's speed. Not a bad buff, Ziji said softly. She no longer dodged, but waved her right hand, and a black water wall condensed in front of her. Zhu Zuqing's sharp claws grabbed onto the water wall, splashing a large amount of water, but the water wall only trembled slightly and was not torn apart. Zhu Zuqing knew that it was difficult to break through Ziji's defense by speed alone, she needed stronger armor-breaking ability. Fourth spirit skill, Hellbone Eroding Stab. A layer of black light condensed on Zhu Zuqing's right claw, and that light emitted an eerie corrosive aura. This spirit ability could significantly increase armor-breaking ability and had the effect of hell corrosive penetration. Once it hit, the spirit power would directly erode the opponent's body, causing continuous damage. Zhu Zuqing's figure was like a black meteor, stabbing straight at Ziji. Ziji felt the threat of this strike and no longer underestimated her. She crossed her hands in front of her, and a black water shield condensed. Bang! Zhu Zuqing's bone-eroding stab hit the water shield. The black corrosive force collided violently with the water shield. A small dent appeared on the water shield, and the corrosive force was slowly penetrating. A trace of surprise flashed in Ziji's eyes. This spirit ability can break my defense. The spirit power in her body shook, and a powerful rebound force erupted from the water shield. Zhu Zuqing was shaken back several steps, but there was no sign of discouragement on her face. That strike just now had already proven that her attack could pose a threat to Ziji. Zhu Zuqing took a deep breath, and her figure flickered again. Hell Shadow. The third spirit ability was enabled again, her speed and attack power climbed again, and immediately after, she used the fourth spirit ability again. Hellbone Eroding Stab. This time, the angle of her attack was even trickier, heading straight for Ziji's throat. Ziji did not take it head-on, but moved to the side, while waving her right hand at the same time. Yin Water Whip. A black water whip condensed, drawing an arc in the air and whipping towards Zhu Zuqing. Zhu Zuqing turned her body, dodging the water whip, but the rhythm of her attack was disrupted. Ziji seized this opportunity, and her left hand also condensed a water whip. Yin water twin whips. 2 water whips were like 2 black poisonous snakes, weaving into a large net in the air. Zhu Zuqing's figure shuttled through the whip shadows, narrowly dodging every attack. But Ziji's attacks were continuous, giving her no chance to breathe at all. Zhu Zuqing knew that if this continued, she would be worn out. She had to break the stalemate, then regardless of the threat of the water whips, she rushed directly towards Ziji. The black light on her right claw condensed to the extreme, stabbing out with an indomitable aura. Ziji raised an eyebrow, not expecting Zhu Zuqing to risk her life like this. She retracted the water whips and made a hand seal in front of her. 5th spirit skill, Abyssal Dragon Roar. A low dragon roar issued from Ziji's mouth. The sound was not loud, but it carried a soul-shaking power. The dragon roar spread out like a substance. Zhu Zuqing's body stiffened slightly, and the momentum of the bone-eroding stab slowed down by 30% because of this. But Zhu Zuqing gritted her teeth, and the internal energy of the 9 yin manual forcibly dispelled the influence of the dragon roar. Her attack continued forward, stabbing fiercely into Ziji's shoulder. PFF. The corrosive force of the bone-eroding stab instantly invaded Ziji's body. Ziji let out a muffled groan. The spirit power in her body operated, dispelling the corrosive force, but a shallow wound had already been left on her shoulder. You heard me. Ziji's tone carried a hint of surprise. A gasp of surprise erupted from the audience. Zhu Zuqing heard Ziji. Rank 55 hurting rank 62, this is too amazing. Ziji looked at Zhu Zuqing, the appreciation in her eyes deepening. You are indeed very strong, a rank 55 spirit king being able to hurt me, you are the first. Her tone became serious. However, next, I won't give you any more opportunities. Ziji raised her hands, and the spirit power in her body surged out like a volcanic eruption. 6th spirit skill, Abyssal Domain. Black water vapor permeated from Ziji, quickly covering the entire competition stage. The water vapor carried extreme cold and had strong corrosiveness. In this domain, Ziji's perception ability was greatly enhanced. Zhu Zuqing felt that her movements became sluggish, and her spirit power circulation was also suppressed. She knew she had to make a decision as soon as possible. 5th spirit skill, Hell Stealth. Zhu Zuqing's figure instantly became illusory, and then completely disappeared into the air. This was not ordinary invisibility, but a concealment skill of the Hell attribute. It could not only hide her figure, but also mask her aura, and even her spirit power fluctuations were perfectly hidden. Ziji was slightly stunned, a trace of surprise flashing in her eyes. She closed her eyes and released her mental force to perceive the surrounding space. But Zhu Zuqing seemed to have disappeared completely, and no traces could be perceived at all. This is the powerful aspect of Hell Stealth. In the stealth state, all of Zhu Zuqing's attributes would be improved, and the power of the first attack launch would be significantly enhanced. Ziji's mouth raised slightly, and she said softly, interesting. She did not go to look for Zhu Zuqing's traces, and her spirit power erupted fully. Abyssal Domain, fully open. The power of the Abyssal Domain was raised to the extreme. The entire competition stage was covered by black water vapor, and Ziji's perception reached its peak in this domain. Finally, she captured a trace of extremely subtle fluctuation. Found you. Ziji's figure instantly disappeared from the spot, and in the next instant, she had appeared beside Zhu Zuqing. Chapter 223, Conflict, Lin Yuan takes the stage. Her speed was astonishingly fast, and her right hand transformed into a black dragon claw. 5th spirit ability, Abyssal Dragon Claw. Zhu Zuqing's expression changed. Realizing her concealment had been seen through, she immediately deactivated her ghostly stealth state and launched an attack. 4th spirit ability, Hellbone Eroding Piercer. The black corrosive power collided head-on with the Abyssal Dragon Claw. With a loud boom, Zhu Zuqing was sent flying backward by the shock. However, she forcibly twisted her body in midair and landed steadily on the ground. A corrosive mark was left on Ziji's dragon claw, but it healed quickly. Your 5th spirit ability is indeed very strong, but within my domain, you cannot hide. Ziji's voice echoed from all directions. Zhu Zuqing knew she was no match for Ziji in a direct confrontation. She had to utilize the martial skills from the 9 yin manual to find an opportunity. Zhu Zuqing took a deep breath, circulating her 9 yin manual internal energy to the maximum. Her figure moved again, but this time she did not use a spirit ability. Instead, she employed a movement technique from the 9 yin manual. Serpentine Slither, Civet Roll. Zhu Zuqing's movements were as agile as a snake and as cunning as a fox. She constantly circled Ziji, her trajectory eerie and unpredictable. Ziji's attacks missed multiple times, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Excellent movement technique. Ziji swung both hands, weaving several yin water whips in the air, but Zhu Zuqing's movement was too flexible, allowing her to evade them at the critical moment every time. She suddenly accelerated, closing in on Ziji's side in an instant. 9 yin white bone claw. Her right fingers curved, their tips condensing the soft yin internal energy of the 9 yin manual. This claw strike contained the energy exerting methods of the 9 yin manual, capable of penetrating protective spirit power. Ziji dodged to the side, but Zhu Zuqing's assault didn't stop. Her left hand formed a palm and struck out. Heart-shattering palm. The palm's power was contained and not revealed. Once it hit, the force would penetrate directly into the body. Ziji felt the threat of this palm strike and retreated rapidly. Zhu Zuqing pursued relentlessly, her right hand reaching out again towards Ziji's throat. 9 yin white bone claw, throat lock. This move was incredibly fast and came from an extremely tricky angle. With no way to dodge, Ziji could only meet it head-on. She raised her right hand and met the attack with a palm. The palm and claw collided, producing a dull thud. Zhu Zuqing's body jolted slightly as she was pushed back several steps. Ziji also took a step back, a hint of astonishment flashing in her eyes. Your martial skills are very strong. If we were judging by technique alone, I am far inferior to you, Ziji praised sincerely. But unfortunately, the gap in spirit power and the suppression of attributes cannot be compensated for by technique alone. Even now, Ziji still appeared to be handling the fight with ease. Zhu Zuqing said nothing, her gaze remaining calm. The internal energy of the 9 yin manual circulated frantically within her, and her consumed spirit power was recovering. She still had a chance. Ziji looked at Zhu Zuqing, not wanting to drag this out any longer. After all, she had already seen most of her opponent's tricks. Abyssal Descent. In the sky, a pillar of black light descended, enveloping the entire competition stage. Zhu Zuqing felt an irresistible force pressing down on her. Her legs began to tremble, and her knees almost buckled. This was one of Ziji's strongest moves, drawing upon the power of the abyss to suppress the opponent. Zhu Zuqing gritted her teeth, pushing the internal energy of the 9 yin manual to its limit. A faint layer of black light surfaced around her body, barely resisting the abyssal pressure. I can still hold on. Zhu Zuqing looked up at Ziji, her eyes flashing with a determined light. She knew this was her last chance. 4th spirit ability, Hellbone Eroding Piercer. Black corrosive power condensed on her right claw. 3rd spirit ability, Hell Shadow. Her attack power and speed increased once more. With 2 spirit abilities stacked, Zhu Zuqing's aura reached its peak. Her figure transformed into a streak of black light, piercing straight towards Ziji. This was her strongest attack, condensing all of her power. Ziji looked at the black light, a hint of respect flashing in her eyes. Strong, but not enough. Ziji reached out her right hand, fingers slightly spread. A black water dragon surged from her palm, colliding with Zhu Zuqing. Abyssal Devour. The water dragon opened its maw, completely swallowing Zhu Zuqing's attack, and then slammed into her with undiminished momentum. Zhu Zuqing's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. She crashed heavily onto the ground, her hands trembling slightly, the webbing between her thumbs and index fingers already split open. Blood seeped from between her fingers and dripped onto the floor. Ziji did not pursue her, simply standing in place and watching Zhu Zuqing. Surrender, you cannot win. Zhu Zuqing gritted her teeth and stood up. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual circulated, and the wounds on her hands healed rapidly. However, her face was somewhat pale, the impact of the previous blow had been significant. I can still fight. Zhu Zuqing's voice was calm and firm. Ziji sighed and shook her head. Your resilience is indeed strong, but continuing like this will only result in more severe injuries. Zhu Zuqing did not answer. An unyielding battle intent burned in her eyes. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual circulated frantically, and her aura climbed again, becoming even stronger than before. This was a characteristic of the 9-yin manual. The more one was in adversity, the more active the internal energy became. Ziji felt the change in Zhu Zuqing, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Your cultivation technique is indeed special, to be able to increase your strength under these circumstances. Ziji's hands formed seals again. The power of the Abyss domain retracted completely, and all that power condensed into her right hand. Abyssal Annihilation Slash. A black blade of light shot out from Ziji's hand. Wherever the blade passed, the air was torn apart, emitting a sharp whistling sound. Zhu Zuqing wanted to dodge, but her body had reached its limit. She could only take it head-on, her corrosive power colliding with the black light blade. But this time, Zhu Zuqing's attack was instantly crushed. The black light blade struck her body. Zhu Zuqing let out a muffled groan and was sent flying once again. This time, she could not stand up again. She lay on the competition stage, gasping for breath. The spirit power in her body was nearly exhausted, and her hands hung limply at her sides. The internal energy of the 9-yin manual was still slowly circulating, helping her recover her strength, but in the short term, she was no longer able to fight. The referee walked over, glanced at Zhu Zuqing, confirmed she was unable to continue, and then raised a hand to announce loudly. The match is over. Ziji of the Tianshui team wins. Applause rang out from below the stage. Although Zhu Zuqing had lost, her performance had earned everyone's respect. With the strength of rank 55, she had faced a rank 62 Spirit Emperor and still managed such a performance. This in itself was a miracle, and she had even managed to injure Ziji, something many people could not do. Ziji walked over to Zhu Zuqing and reached out a hand. You are very strong. The next time we fight will likely be during the Spirit Master Tournament. Zhu Zuqing looked at Ziji's hand, hesitated for a moment, then reached out to take it and stood up. Next time, I will win. Ziji smiled and said nothing. Their gazes met in the air, carrying mutual respect. In the Heaven Do team's preparation area, everyone's expressions were somewhat solemn. Zhu Zuqing's loss was expected. But the strength Ziji had displayed still put pressure on everyone. Zhu Zuyun had already stepped forward to help Zhu Zuqing off the stage. Are you okay? Zhu Zuyun asked in a low voice. Zhu Zuqing shook her head. My spirit power consumption was a bit high. I'll be fine after a rest. She glanced at Ziji on the stage, her eyes filled with unwillingness. In the Shrek Academy's viewing area, Flender's eyes were full of surprise. This Zhu Zuqing is quite remarkable. A rank 55 Spirit King, clashing head-on with a rank 62 Spirit Emperor and even managing to injure the opponent. I've never seen such combat power before. It seems going to the Heaven Do Royal Academy was truly a good choice. Yu Shaoqing sat to the side and nodded with a solemn expression. The quality of her spirit power is extremely high, far beyond what any spirit master of the same rank can compare to. Moreover, her recovery speed is astonishing. This doesn't follow common logic. There must be something special about her. Dai Mubai's gaze closely followed Zhu Zuqing's figure, his fists clenched tightly. He was Zhu Zuqing's fiancé and knew her strength better than anyone. It was precisely because he knew her that he was even more shocked. When did she become so strong? Dai Mubai's voice was a bit strained, carrying complex emotions. Her speed, power, and reactions have all exceeded the limits of a spirit king. If I were to fight her now, hey. Oscar was also full of shock. It's like her spirit power is inexhaustible. She just kept throwing out one move after another. Any other spirit king would have collapsed long ago after using so many spirit abilities in a row. But she's fine. After finishing the fight, she could still keep going as if nothing happened. Tang San sat in the corner and hadn't spoken the entire time. His gaze remained fixed on Zhu Zuqing, his eyes flashing with thoughtful light. While others saw her combat power, he saw something deeper. The way the spirit power circulated within Zhu Zuqing's body was different from any spirit master he had ever seen. A normal spirit master's spirit power is generated from their spirit, stored in the body, and released directly when used. That method is relatively crude, and the flow of spirit power within the body is not complex. But Zhu Zuqing was different. Tang San clearly perceived that her spirit power was moving along a specific trajectory within her body. Those trajectories were extremely complex, involving the human body's meridian system. This wasn't simple spirit power storage and release, it was the conscious guidance of spirit power to circulate through the meridians. With each cycle, the spirit power would be tempered and become more refined. This was clearly a complete cultivation technique. Tang San's pupils constricted slightly. He was all too familiar with this feeling. Because the way the mysterious heaven skill operated was exactly like this. The mysterious heaven skill emphasized guiding chi through the meridians, using chi to nourish the body and control power. The way the spirit power operated within Zhu Zuqing's body shared the same principles as the mysterious heaven skill, and in some aspects, it was even more exquisite. Tang San closed his eyes, carefully recalling the spirit power fluctuations he had just sensed. The quality of that spirit power was extremely high, far beyond ordinary spirit power, and its movement was smooth and unobstructed, endless and self-sustaining. Tang San's breath hitched slightly. He had discovered a shocking fact. The quality of the cultivation technique Zhu Zuqing was using seemed to be even higher than the mysterious heaven skill. This realization sent shockwaves through Tang San's heart. The mysterious heaven skill came from the mysterious heaven treasure record and was one of the Tang sect's top internal mind cultivation techniques. He had always thought that in this world, the mysterious heaven skill was unique. But now, another cultivation technique had appeared on Zhu Zuqing, and its quality was even higher. Tang San opened his eyes, his gaze falling on Zhu Zuqing with a deep look. How did she get this technique? What was the origin of this technique? Tang San's heart was full of questions, but he did not ask. Everyone has their own secrets, he understood that. But the changes in Zhu Zuqing gave him a new understanding of this world. On the other side of the Heaven Do team's preparation area, Du Guyan and the others were also discussing. ZG is very strong. Her abyss domain counters too many people. Anyone without a domain is suppressed as soon as they step up. Du Guyan stood with her arms crossed, her eyes burning as she watched CG on the stage. Let me go, my Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor is no pushover either. Her tone carried a strong sense of competitiveness. Although she is an abyssal demon dragon, I have consumed an immortal herb, and my spirit has evolved. Even if there is suppression, I won't be completely countered. Zhu Zuyun had just helped Zhu Zuqing to her seat to rest when she heard this and turned around. I should be the one to go. Her voice was calm, but her tone was equally firm. Zuqing and I have the same type of spirit, but I have more spirit rings and a higher cultivation level. Moreover, I might not be without resistance against CG's Yin water attribute. The two looked at each other, both their eyes filled with an unyielding battle intent. Du Guyan shook her head. The attribute counter against you is too obvious. Zuqing is proof of that. If you go up, your result won't be much better than hers. Zhu Zuyun frowned slightly. Your Jade Phosphor Dragon Emperor isn't a pure-blooded true dragon either. Can you handle the bloodline suppression of ZG's abyssal demon dragon? Both held their ground, and neither could convince the other. Lin Yuan, who had been sitting to the side listening to their argument, finally spoke. Forget it. For this match, I'll be the one to go. His voice wasn't loud, but it silenced both of them at once. Du Guyan turned to look at him and frowned. You're going up for the second match. Lin Yuan nodded and stood up. Neither of you has a domain. Going up means being suppressed. He looked at ZG on the stage, his gaze calm. When ZG fought Zuqing, she didn't use her full strength at all. You two should be able to see that. The two fell silent. They could see it, of course, they just didn't want to admit it. Zhu Zuyun bit her lip but still spoke up. But if you go up for the second match, what if their third person is Ji Yuina? Her tone was filled with worry. That would be disadvantageous for you. For this transformation, Ji Yuina had set her cultivation to rank 69, the same as Lin Yuan. This was clearly intentional. Lin Yuan smiled, his expression composed. It's fine. To be honest, since Ji Yuina had joined the Tianshui team, that meant the abilities she displayed should only be the water element and the ice element derived from it. If that was the case, he still had a good chance of defeating her. After all, he had obtained so many things through the system, he couldn't really lose to her, could he? Chapter 224, God-Slaying Domain vs. Abyss Domain. Lin Yuan straightened his lapel and stepped onto the competition stage. The members of the Heaven Do team watched his back, saying nothing more. The moment Lin Yuan stepped onto the competition stage, the atmosphere of the entire venue changed. ZG stood opposite him, watching Lin Yuan approach with a slight curl of her lips. I've finally been waiting for you. Her voice was filled with anticipation. The host stood on the stage and announced loudly, the third match of the individual competition, Lin Yuan of the Heaven Do team versus ZG of the Tianshui team. Please, both sides, release your spirits. Lin Yuan and ZG released their spirits simultaneously, and their basic information appeared on the large screen. The clamor in the audience disappeared in an instant. Everyone's eyes were drawn to the information on the large screen. Heaven Do team captain, Lin Yuan. Spirit, God-Slaying Spear. Spirit power, rank 69 attack system battle Spirit Emperor. Spirit ring configuration, red, black, 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 black. When this line of text appeared on the large screen, the entire arena fell into a deathly silence. Then, a thunderous roar of exclamation erupted. Rank 69, he's rank 69. How old is he? How can he be rank 69? My god, this rank is just too ridiculous. Is this the reason the Heaven Do Royal Academy dared to openly hold an exchange match? But what truly shocked people wasn't the rank, but that spirit ring configuration. Red, black, 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 black. 1 red spirit ring, 5 black spirit rings. In the audience, countless people widened their eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. A red spirit ring, is that a 100,000-year spirit ring? Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. How could a 100,000-year spirit ring appear on a young man? And it's even a red first spirit ring. Am I seeing things? Is the screen displaying it wrong? No, it's definitely red. For ordinary people, a 100,000-year spirit ring was a legendary existence. Across the entire continent, the number of spirit masters possessing a 100,000-year spirit ring could be counted on one's fingers, and every single one was a long-established powerhouse. But now, a young man around 20 years old actually had a 100,000-year spirit ring. This simply overturned everyone's understanding. On the main seat, Emperor Shui suddenly stood up, his gaze fixed on the large screen, the shock on his face impossible to hide. A 100,000-year spirit ring. His voice trembled slightly, his eyes full of disbelief. It was also his first time seeing Lin Yuan's spirit rings. Originally, hearing that Lin Yuan's first spirit ring was a 10,000-year one was enough to shock him, but now, how had the first spirit ring become a 100,000-year one? Ning Fengji, sitting not far away, took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. Rank 69, 1 red and 5 black. His future is limitless. Fortunately, Rongrong has a good relationship with him. Ji Yurong stood behind Ning Fengji, looking at Lin Yuan on the stage with a solemn gaze. He was a rank 95 titled Douluo and had seen countless geniuses, but he was seeing someone like Lin Yuan for the first time. This young man's talent is likely even beyond my imagination. The aura of that 100,000-year spirit ring is real, it doesn't seem like a fake. In the spirit hall stands, the 3 members of the Golden Generation were all present, the expressions of Xie Huliana, and Yan all changed. Xie clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white from the force. Rank 69, he's actually even higher than Nana's rank. As for Huliana herself, she wasn't too surprised, because she had known for a long time. Yan's expression was the most unsightly. He had originally thought the Heaven Do team was nothing special, and that the championship of the next Spirit Master Elite tournament would still belong to their spirit hall. But now, whether it was the Heaven Do team or the other two teams, they had already given him too much of a shock. Damn it. Yan gritted his teeth, unable to say a word, his face turning ashen. In the Shrek Academy's observation area, Flender had already stood up, his eyes wide and his mouth slightly open, completely losing his usual composure. Rank 69, 1 red and 5 black. Flender's voice trembled slightly. Is this kid a monster? Yu Xiaobing sat there, staring blankly at the large screen. He was the authority on spirit theory and knew better than anyone what 100,000-year spirit ring meant. 100,000-year spirit ring. Rank 69. This is impossible. Back then, his first spirit ring was clearly only 100-year one. Yu Xiaobing muttered to himself, this does not conform to spirit theory, it doesn't conform at all. But the information on the large screen would not lie. Tang San's gaze fell on Lin Yuan, his eyes deep. He had long known Lin Yuan was strong, but he hadn't expected that after not seeing him for years, Lin Yuan's strength would have risen to such a level. His mysterious heaven skill cultivation speed was already very fast. If not for the second soul ring holding him back, he could have been even faster, but compared to Lin Yuan, there was simply a world of difference. And that 100,000-year spirit ring. Tang San's gaze fell on that red spirit ring, a complex feeling rising in his heart. He knew Lin Yuan had many secrets, but the appearance of a 100,000-year spirit ring still shocked him. Dai Mubai had already stood up, staring at the large screen with wide eyes, his mouth slightly open, unable to close it for a long time. I understand now why Yu Tianong, despite not being weak, can only be a substitute. Oscar added, yeah, Boss Dai. Among the people currently competing from the Heaven Do team, the lowest spirit power is at the Spirit King level, while Yu Tianong is only a rank 41 spirit ancestor. Oscar was now somewhat skeptical. Do you think that with Teacher Qinming's recommendation, we can really participate in the tournament a year and a half from now as the Heaven Do team too? He had originally felt that Qinming's strength was at the Spirit Emperor level and his status in the Heaven Do Royal Academy shouldn't be low, at least not among the younger generation, so he must have some say. But now, he felt doubtful about his original thought. Ma Hongjun jumped up directly, the fat on his face trembling. A red spirit ring. I don't even have a 10,000-year spirit ring yet, and he already has a 100,000-year spirit ring. How are we supposed to live like this? Ma Hongjun looked at the large screen, his eyes full of disbelief. He had always felt his talent was quite good, but today, his competence suffered an unprecedented blow. On the competition stage, Lin Yuan was deaf to these reactions. His gaze fell calmly on ZG as the god-slaying spear slowly condensed in his hand. The black spear body with dark golden patterns radiated a heart-palpitating aura. ZG looked at the god-slaying spear in Lin Yuan's hand, a hint of solemnity flashing in her eyes. Is this the god-slaying spear spirit? In terms of grade, it shouldn't just be divine rank, ZG thought to herself. ZG stood on the stage, her gaze fixed on Lin Yuan. She felt that standing before her was not a person, but an unsheathed, fearless weapon of destruction. That killing intent condensed without dissipating, pressing against every inch of her skin like something physical. She had only felt this kind of sensation when facing her master, Ji Yuina. In fact, the pressure Lin Yuan gave her was even greater than Ji Yuina's. ZG's pupils contracted slightly, and a storm of shock rose in her heart. The host stood on the stage and raised his right hand high. Match start. The moment the words fell, ZG moved first. She did not dare to be careless and used her full strength from the start. 6th spirit skill, Abyss Domain. Black water vapor surged frantically from ZG, instantly enveloping the entire competition stage. A cold aura spread out, and the people in the audience could all feel that chill. ZG's figure became illusory and unstable within the domain, her presence drifting and hard to predict. She waved her hands, and several yin water whips lashed toward Lin Yuan from all directions. Yin water whip array. This time it wasn't just one or two, but dozens of water whips launched simultaneously. Every water whip carried extreme cold and corrosive power, sealing off all paths of retreat. Lin Yuan stood in place, not even moving his feet. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and a flash of battle intent appeared in his eyes. A domain, you're not the only one who has one. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying killing intent erupted from Lin Yuan. God-slaying domain. A dark red light surged from within Lin Yuan, instantly tearing through the black water vapor. That killing intent was so intense it felt as if thousands of people were roaring and weeping. ZG's abyss domain actually began to tremble and retreat before this killing intent. This was fear born of instinct, the natural suppression of a predator over its prey. The god-slaying spear was originally a spear of slaughter, specifically designed to counter all sinister and evil attributes. Although ZG's yin water attribute was powerful, before the ultimate slaughter attribute, it could only be crushed. ZG's face changed drastically, her yin water whips shattered the moment they touched the dark red light. How is this possible? Her voice was filled with disbelief. Lin Yuan did not answer, his figure moved. Void step. Lin Yuan's figure vanished from his original spot as if by teleportation. This was not high speed, but true spatial displacement. In the next instant, he appeared less than 3 meters in front of ZG. ZG reacted extremely quickly, her hands condensing a thick water shield in front of her. Shield of the Abyss. This water shield was several times thicker than the one she used to defend against Su Zuqing, condensing all of her power. But Lin Yuan only raised his hand and lightly pointed a finger. Daybreak. A brilliant golden light shot out from the tip of Lin Yuan's god-slaying spear, like the first ray of sunlight at daybreak. The golden light struck the water shield silently. A tiny hole appeared on the water shield, and then the entire shield exploded. ZG was forced back several steps by the aftermath of the explosion, her expression becoming even more unsightly. Her water shield hadn't even lasted a second before Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan did not pursue but stood in place, his right hand loosely gripped. The god-slaying spear slowly condensed in his hand, dark golden patterns flowing on the black spear body. The tip of the spear glowed with a crimson light, which was killing intent condensed to the extreme. ZG looked at that spear, and her heart suddenly constricted. She felt the aura of death. This was not an illusion, but her spirit's instinctive warning. If she were hit by that spear, the consequences would be unimaginable. ZG gritted her teeth, the spirit power within her body circulating frantically. She could not sit and wait for death, she had to take the initiative to attack. 5th spirit skill, Abyss Dragon Claw. ZG's right hand transformed into a massive black dragon claw, striking toward Lin Yuan with world-destroying power. This strike condensed 80% of her spirit power, and it tore through the air with a shrill whistle. Lin Yuan looked at that dragon claw, his eyes showing no ripple of emotion. He raised the god-slaying spear and gave it a light thrust. 1st spirit skill, God-slaying pierce. This thrust seemed ordinary, with no earth-shaking or earth-dazzling light. but Ziji's pupils instantly dilated to their limit. The moment the spear tip touched the dragon claw, Ziji's dragon claw was pierced through as if it were made of paper. The god-slaying spear's characteristic of ignoring 50% defense was exhibited to the fullest at this moment. Ah! Ziji cried out in pain as the dragon claw form on her right hand instantly collapsed. A bloody hole appeared on her palm, and blood flowed out profusely. Even more terrifying was a surge of violent evil chi that invaded her body through the wound. That evil chi was like a living thing, rampaging within her body. Ziji tried to use spirit power to suppress the wound, but she found that the wound simply could not heal. As soon as the spirit power reached the wound, it was completely devoured by that evil chi. What kind of ghostly thing is this? Ziji's face turned pale, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Lin Yuan said calmly, unless a healing system spirit master of the title Douluo level intervenes, a wound inflicted by the god-slaying spear cannot be healed. You had better admit defeat quickly, otherwise, you'll keep bleeding incessantly, which won't be good for you. Ziji gritted her teeth, a hint of stubbornness flashing in her eyes. How could she just admit defeat like this? Abyss domain, fully open. Ziji ignored the injury on her hand and pushed the abyss domain to its limit. Black water vapor permeated the air again, even more intense than before. Black tentacles condensed within the water vapor, frantically grasping at Lin Yuan. Abyss imprisonment. Countless tentacles surged from all directions, trying to entangle Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's figure flashed as he activated Void Step once more. His figure wove through the tentacles, every displacement perfectly timed to avoid the attacks. Your domain is very strong, but unfortunately, you've encountered me. Lin Yuan's voice came from behind Ziji. Ziji turned around abruptly, only to see a flash of dark red light. Second spirit skill, God-slaying soul chase. A dark red light entered Ziji's body silently. Ziji felt a slight heat in her chest. Looking down, she saw a dark red star-shaped mark had appeared there. What is this? An ominous premonition rose in Ziji's heart. Lin Yuan did not explain. Instead, he stepped back a few paces, increasing the distance. You can try and see if you can dodge my next spear. Ziji did not understand why, but she instinctively wanted to get away from Lin Yuan. She retreated quickly, while simultaneously setting up layers of water curtains in front of her. She also compressed the abyss domain to its limit, forming a thick shield. Lin Yuan stood in place, raised the god-slaying spear, and took a throwing posture. This spear, you cannot dodge it. As the words fell, the god-slaying spear left his hand. A dazzling dark golden light erupted from the spear, like a meteor streaking across the sky. Ziji tried to dodge, but she found to her horror that no matter which direction she moved, the trajectory of that spear would change accordingly, locking onto her firmly. What was even more terrifying was that the mark on her chest began to grow hot and searing. An invisible force connected her and that spear together, impossible to sever. Chapter 225, Lin Yuan battles Ji Yuina. This is impossible. Ziji shrieked, pouring all her spirit power into the defense in front of her. But the god-slaying spear penetrated layer after layer of water curtains, ignoring the defense. Finally, the tip of the spear stopped 3 inches from Ziji's throat. The spear's wind blew her hair, leaving a small cut on her face. Ziji was rigid, not daring to move. She had no doubt that if Lin Yuan wanted to kill her, this spear would have already pierced her throat. The god-slaying spear hovered in the air, its tip trembling slightly, as if awaiting its master's command. Lin Yuan raised his hand and beckoned, and the god-slaying spear flew back into his hand. You lost. Lin Yuan's voice was calm, as if he had done something insignificant. Ziji stood stunned, unable to recover for a long time. She looked down at the glowing mark on her chest, then at the unhealing wound on her right hand. The expression on her face changed from shock to bitterness. I lost. Ziji's voice was soft, but everyone on the stage heard it clearly. In the audience, there was a deathly silence, and then, earth-shattering exclamations erupted. He won just like that, only a few rounds. A rank 62 Spirit Emperor has no power to retaliate against Lin Yuan. That's the abyssal demonic dragon spirit, yet it was crushed like this. Didn't you see? Ziji's attacks couldn't even hurt Lin Yuan. And Ziji couldn't block Lin Yuan's attacks at all. Is this the strength of a rank 69 Spirit Emperor? It's too terrifying. No, it's not just a matter of rank, but also the gap in spirits and spirit rings. God-slaying spear spirit, 100,000-year spirit ring. This is not a battle of the same level at all. In the stands, Emperor Shui's eyes were filled with shock. He had witnessed countless battles between powerful experts, but he had never seen such an overwhelming confrontation. Rank 62 against rank 69, a 7-rank gap, shouldn't be so disparate. The only explanation was that Lin Yuan's strength far exceeded his own rank. Ning Fengji took a deep breath. This Lin Yuan is even stronger than I imagined. Ziji had no chance to retaliate against him. If he used his full power, Ziji probably wouldn't even be able to take a single move. Ji Yurong stood behind Ning Fengji, his gaze solemn. He was a grandmaster of the sword Dao, most skilled at discerning a person's true strength. But Lin Yuan gave him the feeling of a bottomless lake. In Shrek's spectator seats, Flender's face was full of shock, unable to calm down for a long time. Is this kid a monster? Ziji's powerful domain was like paper in front of him. That spear, that killing intent, it doesn't seem like something a human should possess. Tang San's gaze fell on Lin Yuan, a hint of solemnity flashing in his eyes. He had been observing Lin Yuan's fighting style, trying to find flaws. But the more he watched, the heavier his heart became. Lin Yuan's combat had no flashy techniques, just pure power suppression. One force conquers 10 guilds. In the face of absolute strength, any technique is futile. If I were to fight him. Tang San secretly calculated in his heart, then came to a conclusion that disheartened him. With his current strength, his chances of winning were almost zero. Dai Mubai clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white from the effort. He had always prided himself as a genius, but today, his confidence suffered an unprecedented blow. Is this the gap? Dai Mubai whispered, his voice tinged with bitterness. Ma Hongjun and Oscar exchanged glances, both seeing shock in each other's eyes. They knew Lin Yuan was strong, but they hadn't expected him to be this strong. A rank 62 Spirit Emperor had no power to retaliate against Lin Yuan. This was no longer a battle, but a one-sided crushing. On the competition stage, Ziji took a deep breath and dispersed the spirit power from her body. The wound on her right hand was still bleeding, but she no longer cared about that. I concede. Ziji's voice was calm, but a trace of unwillingness still flashed in her eyes. Lin Yuan nodded and retracted the god-slaying spear. Thank you for the match. Afterward, Lin Yuan withdrew the evil chi from Ziji's body. The host raised his hand and announced loudly. The match is over. Heaven Do Team's Lin Yuan wins. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Although this match was short, its excitement far surpassed the first. The strength Lin Yuan displayed shocked everyone. A rank 69 Spirit Emperor, a spirit ring configuration of 1 red and 5 black, and the god-slaying spear spirit. Each of these would be a legendary existence on its own, yet they were all concentrated in one person. In the Heaven Do Team's waiting area, everyone's faces were filled with excitement. Du Guyan looked at Lin Yuan's back, her eyes full of admiration. This guy is too strong. Zhu Zuyun nodded, a hint of admiration also flashing in her eyes. Ziji is simply not enough to face him. On the competition stage, Lin Yuan stood with his spear retracted, his gaze calmly directed towards the Tianshui team's waiting area. Ziji had already conceded and left the stage, and the Tianshui team's third person, as expected, stood up. Silver-white hair cascaded like a waterfall, and a faint smile graced her beautiful face. Ji Yuina. She wore a silver-white long dress, walking gracefully onto the competition stage. Each step seemed to tread on clouds, giving her an unreal beauty. Lin Yuan looked at Ji Yuina, a hint of solemnity flashing in his eyes. This woman was the opponent he truly wanted to fight. Ji Yuina stood opposite Lin Yuan and nodded slightly. Your strength is stronger than I imagined. Her voice was clear and pleasant, like a mountain spring. Lin Yuan said indifferently, the same to you. The host raised his hand and announced loudly, the third match, Heaven Do Team's Lin Yuan versus Tianshui Team's Ji Yuina. Please release your spirits, both sides. As soon as his voice fell, both their spirit powers erupted simultaneously. On the large screen, Ji Yuina's basic information was also displayed. Tianshui Team, Ji Yuina. Spirit, Silver Dragon King. Spirit Power, Rank 69 Attack System Battle Spirit Emperor. Spirit Ring Configuration, Purple, Purple, Black, 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 Black. Another wave of exclamations rose from the audience. Another Rank 69. Silver Dragon King Spirit, what kind of spirit is this? A mutated dragon-type spirit, I've never seen one before. This match is interesting, same rank, I wonder who will win or lose. Lin Yuan's spirit ring configuration is higher, but Ji Yuina's spirit is not weak, and Lin Yuan's spirit power was already consumed in the previous match, while Ji Yuina is still in peak condition. The outcome is hard to predict. On the competition stage, Ji Yuina made the first move. She gently raised her delicate hand, and the water elements in the air instantly rioted. Ice element control, 1,000 miles of ice. Countless ice crystals condensed in the air, transforming into an overwhelming barrage of ice cones that shot towards Lin Yuan. Each ice cone was incredibly sharp, carrying an ultimate chill. Lin Yuan's figure moved, and Void Step instantly activated. His figure weaved through the rain of ice cones, like a ghost. But the number of ice cones was too great, covering the entire competition stage. Lin Yuan raised his hand, and the god-slaying spear swept across. Sweeping 8 desolations. A dark golden spear gleam swept out in a fan shape, shattering all the ice cones in front of it. Ice shards scattered, reflecting colorful light in the sunlight. Ji Yuina didn't pause, drawing circles with both hands in front of her. Water element control, water spout. A giant water dragon rose from the ground, roaring as it charged towards Lin Yuan. The water dragon's body was entirely composed of high-pressure water currents, spinning and creating immense suction. Lin Yuan rapidly retreated, simultaneously thrusting out with his spear. Breaking dawn. Golden light pierced through the water dragon's body, and the water dragon exploded with a boom. But the exploding water instantly transformed into countless ice needles, shooting at Lin Yuan from all directions. This was Ji Yuina's combo, a secondary attack after the water dragon burst. Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of admiration, and the god-slaying spear spun in his hand. God-slaying domain, activate. Dark red light surged from Lin Yuan's body, blocking all the ice needles outside. The ice needles melted the instant they touched the dark red light, unable to get close at all. Ji Yuina looked at the dark red domain, a hint of solemnity flashing in her eyes. Such strong killing intent. She could feel that the domain contained an ultimate power of slaughter. If she rashly entered, her water elements would be completely suppressed. Ji Yuina took a step back, raising both hands high. Ice element control, ice storm. In the sky, countless ice crystals converged into a massive storm. The temperature at the center of the storm dropped to minus 100 degrees Celsius, freezing even the air. The massive ice storm swept towards Lin Yuan, carrying a world-destroying aura. Lin Yuan raised his head, looking at the storm, without the slightest fear in his eyes. He took a deep breath, and the chaos god-slaying art within him circulated at full power. Fourth spirit skill, god-slaying battle body. Dark golden light erupted from Lin Yuan's body, and a metallic luster appeared on his body's surface. This spirit ability could comprehensively enhance his strength, speed, defense, and recovery abilities. Under the augmentation of the god-slaying battle body, Lin Yuan's aura surged several times over. He raised the god-slaying spear, its tip pointing to the sky. Fifth spirit skill, god-slaying extreme break. Blinding golden light erupted from the god-slaying spear, and the light at the spear tip condensed to its ultimate. This spirit ability could greatly increase attack power, with each strike containing destructive force. With the 2 amplification spirit skills stacked, Lin Yuan's aura had climbed to a terrifying degree. Ji Yuina's expression changed slightly, she felt the terrifying power emanating from Lin Yuan. I can't let him charge up. Ji Yuina waved both hands, and the ice storm swept over faster. Lin Yuan's mouth curved slightly, and his figure instantly vanished from his original spot. Void step. In the next instant, he appeared at the center of the ice storm. The god-slaying spear swept horizontally, and a massive golden spear gleam split the storm in half from the middle. Sweeping 8 desolations. The storm was divided into 2, scattering to both sides. Ji Yuina's eyes flashed with shock, but she didn't panic. She formed a hand seal in front of her, and the water elements in the air condensed once more. Water element control, 1,000 layered waves. Waves of water surged from the ground, crashing towards Lin Yuan in layers. Each wave contained immense impact force, and each succeeding wave was stronger than the last. Lin Yuan's figure spun in the air, the god-slaying spear continuously thrusting out. Breaking dawn, breaking dawn, breaking dawn. Several golden lights shot out, piercing through the water waves one by one. But the number of water waves was too great, as one was pierced, another followed. Lin Yuan frowned slightly, knowing that he would be worn down if this continued. His figure sank, landing on the ground, and the god-slaying spear plunged into the earth. God-slaying shock. This was Lin Yuan's self-created soul skill. Dark golden light surged from the spear tip into the ground, and the entire competition stage began to vibrate violently. A massive shockwave spread outwards from Lin Yuan, and the thousand-layered waves instantly collapsed before the shockwave, turning into a sky full of water splashes. Ji Yuina was knocked back several steps by the shockwave, her face slightly pale, and she looked at Lin Yuan, the solemnity in her eyes deepening. She had joined Tianshui Academy, so she could only use ice and water element abilities. If she were to use other elemental powers. Ji Yuina shook her head, casting these thoughts aside. Since she chose to fight as a member of the Tianshui team, she had to abide by the rules. She took a deep breath, and the spirit power within her surged again. Ice element control, absolute zero. A sky blue orb of light condensed between Ji Yuina's hands. The orb emitted an ultimate chill, and the surrounding air began to condense. This was the highest profound truth of ice element control, capable of freezing everything. Lin Yuan felt the chill and knew that he couldn't take this move head-on. His figure flickered, activating void step continuously, constantly moving around the stage. But Ji Yuina's orb had locked onto him. No matter where he moved, the orb would follow and change direction. You can't dodge this move. Ji Yuina said softly, and the orb in her hand shot out. Lin Yuan stopped moving. Since he couldn't dodge it, he would face it head-on and shatter it. He raised the god-slaying spear, and the golden light on its tip condensed to its ultimate. Fifth spirit skill, god-slaying extreme break. First spirit skill, god-slaying pierce. With the two spirit skills stacked, dazzling golden light erupted from the god-slaying spear. Lin Yuan thrust out with his spear, and the spear tip collided head-on with the absolute zero orb. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire competition stage trembled. The ultimate chill and the ultimate power of slaughter collided, producing a massive shockwave. The audience members covered their eyes with their hands, unable to look directly at the dazzling light. As the light dissipated, Lin Yuan stood in place, covered in a thin layer of ice. But his expression remained calm. The internal energy of the nine-yang divine art circulated, and the thin ice instantly shattered. Ji Yuina retreated several steps, her face somewhat pale. Her absolute zero had been broken head-on by Lin Yuan. So strong. Ji Yuina thought to herself. Indeed, relying solely on water elemental power wouldn't be enough to defeat Lin Yuan. But she wouldn't concede easily. Ji Yuina's spirit power surged wildly within her. Water element control, water giant. The water elements on the competition stage condensed frantically, forming the colossal water figure 10 meters tall. The water giant raised its massive fist and smashed it towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's figure flickered, dodging the punch. But the water giant's attacks were relentless, punch after punch. Lin Yuan weaved between the giant fists, simultaneously looking for an opportunity to counterattack. Where's the core of this water figure? His gaze swept over the water giant's body, finally locking onto the chest area. There was a fist-sized water core there, the water giant's energy core. Lin Yuan's mouth curved slightly, and his figure instantly vanished from his original spot. In the next instant, he appeared at the water giant's chest. The god-slaying spear thrust out, its tip pointing directly at the water core. God-slaying pierce. ... Chapter 226 Ji Yuina, impossible. How could I be lovesick? The property of ignoring 50% defense was activated, and the spear tip easily pierced the outer layer of the water figure. The water core was pierced in one shot, and the water giant collapsed with a bang. Splashes of water fell all over the sky, like a heavy rain. Ji Yuina stood in the water curtain, her long silver-white hair wet with water and sticking to her cheeks. Her eyes were still calm, but she already knew the result in her heart. Lin Yuan walked out of the water curtain, the god-slaying spear in his hand pointing at Ji Yuina. Do you want to continue? Ji Yuina looked at Lin Yuan and was silent for a moment. She still had stronger power she hadn't used, but that didn't belong to the category of water and ice elements. If she used it, it would violate her original intention of joining the Tianshui team. Ji Yuina shook her head and dispersed the spirit power on her body. I admit defeat. Her voice was very light, but her tone was calm. Anyway, coming here this time was just to test Lin Yuan's strength, other things were not key. Exclamations rang out again from the audience. Ji Yuina admitted defeat. Didn't you see? Ji Yuina didn't give it her all at all. But Lin Yuan didn't give it his all either. In any case, Lin Yuan won, and the Heaven Do team has won 2 matches in a row. On the VIP stand, Emperor Shui Yi slowly clapped. What a Lin Yuan, defeating 2 great experts of the Tianshui team in a row. Yu Xiaoqing's gaze swept back and forth between Lin Yuan and Ji Yuina. Ji Yuina's control over ice and water elements has reached perfection, but Lin Yuan's god-slaying spear is even more domineering, and both of them clearly held back. Tang San remained silent. His gaze fell on Ji Yuina. This woman's temperament was too perfect, so perfect it was unrealistic. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, making him a bit dazed. And she admitted defeat so decisively, as if she didn't care about winning or losing at all. ... Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the Great Spirit Arena, Ditian's eyes were fixed on the ring, his heart filled with deep doubt. Ditian thought to himself, did the Lord and the auspicious beasts really transform into human form and come to the human world just to know themselves and their enemies? If it was just to investigate human intelligence, why did they specifically hold this high-profile exchange match? Ditian was no fool, he always felt that the Lord's behavior was somewhat abnormal. But he thought about it over and over and couldn't figure it out, so he could only continue to hide in the dark. In another shadow of the Great Spirit Arena, Tang Hao was also silently watching all this. His heart was equally shocked by the strength Lin Yuan and Xiao Wu had just shown. It had only been a short while since they last met, and the Lin Yuan from Nuoding City was already a rank 69 Spirit Emperor. Thinking about his son, Little San had only recently obtained his 3rd Spirit Ring, and his cultivation progress was very slow. The strength gap between these two people was simply too large, filling Tang Hao's heart with a sense of powerlessness. On the ring, Lin Yuan put away the god-slaying spear and turned back to the Heaven Do team's preparation area. The host stepped back onto the stage and began to explain the arrangements for the upcoming team matches to the audience. The team matches will officially be held tomorrow, and today's matches have come to an end. During the rest period in the preparation area, Lin Yuan opened the system's virtual panel and began writing in the diary again. Now it can be completely confirmed that the Ji Yuina I just fought is indeed the Silver Dragon King from my memory. Unfortunately, in this battle, to hide her identity, she could only use the 2 elemental abilities of ice and water. I would like to have a good fight with her at the same rank, using all her elemental powers. I want to see whether my god-slaying spear is more powerful, or her full strength as the Silver Dragon King is more powerful. And speaking of Ji Yuina, one must mention Ji Yuina's astounding wisdom 20,000 years later. Just like the fate trajectories of Xiao Wu, Di Chou'er, and the others. Ji Yuina, in the era of the legend of the Dragon King 20,000 years later, also cannot escape the setting of being lovesick. In the Tianshui team's lounge, Ji Yuina's eyes widened when she saw this sentence appearing in the diary. Ji Yuina was full of question marks, her heart filled with resistance. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could I be some lovesick person? I carry the heavy responsibility of revitalizing the entire spirit beast race. Could it be that I, like Xiao Wu in the auspicious beast, will lose my mind and fall in love with a human? This is absolute nonsense. Meanwhile, others who possessed a diary copy were also seriously staring at the diary's content. They knew in their hearts that Lin Yuan was about to expose some shocking future tea again. And the protagonist of this tea was actually the high and mighty company lord of spirit beasts, Ji Yuina. Lin Yuan's diary continued to update. In the era of the legend of the Dragon King 20,000 years later, the god realm at that time was directly swept away because it encountered a space turbulence. And it just so happened that at that time, the Golden Dragon King inside the god realm broke the seal and escaped. The god King Tang San at that time fought against him, and finally, when killing the opponent, he sealed the Golden Dragon King's divine core power inside his son Tang Wulin's body. Tang San sent Tang Wulin to the Douluo Continent, and from then on, the fate connection between Tang Wulin and Ji Yuina officially began. As the Silver Dragon King, Ji Yuina could certainly feel that the god realm was no longer there. Although in that era, the spirit beasts on the Douluo Continent had been almost wiped out by humans. Only the great forbidden land of the Stardo Great Forest remained, with some high-level spirit beasts still surviving. And in order to revitalize the spirit beast race, Ji Yuina resolutely decided to transform into human form and enter the human world to understand everything about humans. Actually, I didn't quite understand this transformation behavior of hers when I first saw it. At that time, Ji Yuina's injuries had already fully recovered. And as half of the dragon god, her peak strength was at the peak of a first-class god or even the half-step god king realm. The strongest humans at that time, limited by the rules of heaven and earth, were only at the quasi-god level. Because the god realm was swept away, those human experts simply couldn't become gods. Reasonably speaking, facing these quasi-god level human experts, Ji Yuina should have had absolute certainty of victory. She could have directly solved the problem with force. Even DTN didn't understand why Ji Yuina insisted on transforming to enter the human world. After transforming, Ji Yuina became a child named Nana. To integrate into the human world, she took the initiative to seal her own memories. Then, by some coincidence, she was brought home by Tang Wulin to live together. Later, one day, she was taken away by DTN, who was searching for her in secret, and she recovered her memories as the Silver Dragon King. At that time, Ji Yuina felt that the time she had lived in human society was enough to understand the human world. So she prepared to execute her plan and enter the Human Spirit Pagoda organization. Immediately after, however, she discovered that a second personality had appeared in her body. This was a personality containing human emotions, which had been constantly influencing her thinking and judgment. Having no choice, she could only use a secret technique to separate this personality, naming it Nar. And her main personality was called Ji Yu. The separated Nar possessed 30% of Ji Yuina's strength. Furthermore, a ridiculous agreement was made between the two parts of her personality. If Ji Yu could make Tang Wulin truly fall in love with her despite her not-so-outstanding looks, then Nar would agree to merge into the first personality and would not object to Ji Yuina killing Tang Wulin to take the Golden Dragon King bloodline from him. Unfortunately, Ji Yuina miscalculated in the end. After all, she still couldn't escape the law of being lovesick. While she tried everything to make Tang Wulin fall in love with Ji Yu, the personality of Ji Yu also fell deeply in love with Tang Wulin. Later on, even when the two personalities merged into one and restored the complete Silver Dragon King, Ji Yuina simply couldn't bring herself to kill Tang Wulin and take the Golden Dragon King bloodline from him. She even acted in secret to help Tang Wulin break through the seal restrictions of the Golden Dragon King bloodline in his body. The first time Tang Wulin's Golden Dragon King bloodline manifested was shortly after Ji Yu entered school and met Tang Wulin. If Ji Yuina had been able to make up her mind to act against Tang Wulin the moment she first discovered he had the Golden Dragon King bloodline, then perhaps there wouldn't have been so many troubles later, and the Spirit Beast race could have been revitalized sooner. Even if Tang Wulin had the protection left by God King Tang San on him, a hidden hand is just a hidden hand after all. Ji Yuina wasn't actually facing God King Tang San's true body, she certainly would have had means to deal with this hidden hand. It was just because of that agreement she made with Nar that she delayed acting against Tang Wulin. Seeing this, I don't know what to say. Whether to say Ji Yu kept her promise, or that she is really beyond saving. And there's nothing much to say about the subsequent plot, it's a standard grand tragedy. During the final decisive battle, although Ji Yuina stood on the side of the spirit beasts and Tang Wulin stood on the side of the humans, Ji Yuina actually had the ability to kill Tang Wulin and achieve final victory. However, she willingly gave up resistance and let Tang Wulin kill her, and in the end, both of them died together for love. In the Tianshui team's lounge, Ji Yuina stared at the last line of text displayed in the diary, standing there dazed. In her once calm eyes, there was now a shock and anger that could not be hidden. She couldn't believe that in the future, she would actually make such an absurd and ridiculous decision for a human man. She bore the heavy responsibility for the survival and revitalization of the entire spirit beast race. But in that so-called future, because of that ridiculous love, she gave up her race, gave up her life, and chose to die together for love. I could never do such a thing. Ji Yuina clenched her fists tightly, her knuckles turning slightly white. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the waves in her heart, and her gaze gradually became cold. Chapter 227, Shocking Wisdom. The co-lord of spirit beasts called Xiao Wu Mother. Since she now knew the terrible direction of the future in advance, she would absolutely not let such a thing happen. She wanted to nip all hidden dangers in the bud, absolutely not allowing herself to split off any second personality, let alone getting involved in emotional entanglements with any human. At this time, other group members were also feeling waves of emotion in their hearts after reading the diary. Xiao Wu sat on the preparation bench, her brows furrowed tightly. As a spirit beast in human form herself, she knew it was easy to develop feelings for humans after transforming. But she really didn't expect that even the Supreme Silver Dragon King would fall for this. Was this a curse that spirit beasts in human form couldn't escape? Ning Rongrong looked at the diary's content from the side, her heart full of emotion. She felt that Ji Yuina's logic was very contradictory. She wanted revenge but couldn't bear to strike, and in the end, she lost herself in her race. This bet was simply too childish. Di Chou looked at the diary, her eyes full of incomprehension and doubt. She didn't understand what love was, to the point where it could make the powerful lord willing to die. Lu Erlong, on the other hand, had a face full of disdain. She felt that Ji Yuina's indecisive personality was simply maddening. If it were her, she would have dealt with Tang Wulin with one punch long ago, there wouldn't be any trouble later. Lin Yuan, then can you deal with Yu Xiaogang? Hu Liana's gaze was deep, her focus was on Tang San's schemes. Tang San sent his son, who carried the Golden Dragon King bloodline, to the Douluo Continent. This was clearly a huge trap set against the Silver Dragon King, and Ji Yuina actually jumped into it. Inside the Tianshui team's lounge, the atmosphere fell into an eerie silence. Ji Yuina looked at the diary copy, her face turning pale and green, her eyes full of undisguised irritation. Is this what Lin Yuan mentioned at the beginning of the diary, that jaw-dropping shocking wisdom? No matter how you look at it, the lines were filled with thick sarcasm, completely rubbing her intelligence into the ground. Giving up the great cause of racial revival for a human man, even willingly seeking death in the end. Where was the wisdom in this? It was clearly foolish to the extreme. Shui Binger and Ziji, sitting beside her, were also looking at Ji Yuina with complex expressions. Ziji opened her mouth, wanting to say something to ease the awkward atmosphere, but didn't know how to start. After all, the future direction exposed in the diary was truly hard to accept. The dignified company lord of spirit beasts actually ended up falling together with a human, and in this case, wouldn't Ji Yuina be considered a traitor to the spirit beast race? Just when they thought Lin Yuan's diary revelations for today had ended, the virtual panel of the diary copy began to flash again, and then new text appeared. Lin Yuan sat on the Heaven Do team's preparation bench, continuing to update the diary content in his mind. Later in the era of the ultimate Douluo, Ji Yuina and Tang Wulin both resurrected for some unknown reason. After their resurrection, they not only regained their memories, but their strength was also further enhanced. In the final ending, Ji Yuina took over the position in the God realm and became the new goddess of life. And Tang Wulin became the new god of destruction. Ji Yuina, a half-body of the dragon god, ended up inheriting the so-called goddess of life's god position. Isn't this a joke? And next, a rather funny thing is about to happen. Because in the original work, Tang Wulin is the biological son of Tang San and Xiao Wu. And Ji Yuina and Tang Wulin went through many hardships and finally officially became a human couple in name. Since they became a couple, according to human social ethics and hierarchy, Ji Yuina naturally needs to call Xiao Wu mother. You should know that in the strict hierarchy of spirit beasts, Ji Yuina is the high and mighty company lord of spirit beasts, the absolute superior of all spirit beasts. While Xiao Wu's true form is just a 100,000-year spirit beast soft bones rabbit. Whether in terms of the nobility of bloodline, the strength of power, or the seniority of existence, Ji Yuina is many levels higher than Xiao Wu. This seniority relationship becomes very contradictory. And the most ridiculous thing is that in the later plot, Ji Yuina actually let go of all her status and pride. In front of everyone, without a hint of reluctance, she sincerely called Xiao Wu mother. When I saw that part of the plot, it really made me die laughing. What kind of ridiculous seniority suppression is this? The co-lord of spirit beasts actually became a good daughter-in-law to a soft bones rabbit. Inside the Tianshui team's lounge, Ji Yuina stared fixedly at this latest section of the diary content. She was completely stunned, her mind went blank, and she totally lost her usual composure. Letting her, the dignified company lord of spirit beasts, become the daughter-in-law of a 100,000-year spirit beast soft bones rabbit. And also having to sincerely call the other party mother. Ji Yuina only felt a surge of anger rush to her head. Her originally fair cheeks instantly turned bright red, and her breathing became rapid. This kind of thing was, for her, 100 times more painful than killing her. This was a serious insult to her identity as the Silver Dragon King. How could she possibly say that to a 100,000-year spirit beast soft bones rabbit? How much water must have entered her future brain for her to do something so lacking in bottom lines? On the other side, Xiao Wu on the Heaven Do team's preparation bench also widened her eyes. Xiao Wu looked at the diary copy floating in front of her, completely dumbfounded. The Supreme Silver Dragon King would actually become her daughter-in-law. Not only that, this company lord of spirit beasts would obediently call her mother. Xiao Wu only felt her scalp tingle, she wouldn't even have dared to dream of such a thing before. According to the absolute bloodline rules of the spirit beast world, she would need to immediately kneel and kowtow in greeting upon seeing the Silver Dragon King. If the company lord of spirit beasts really walked up to her and respectfully called her mother. Xiao Wu shuddered, she felt like she might lose years of her life on the spot. She couldn't afford such a blessing. At this time, the chat group had already exploded. 7 Treasures little rich girl, ha 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 ha, this is so funny. In the original work, Ji Yuina needs to call Xiao Wu mother. I can't even imagine how Ji Yuina managed to open her mouth at that time. I want to live past 30, it's indeed funny. According to spirit beast rules, Xiao Wu would have to kneel when seeing Ji Yuina. As a result, switching to a human identity, Ji Yuina has to serve tea and call her mother instead. This seniority is a complete mess. Queen of the Dark Knight, this is the ultimate end of a love brain. For love, even the dignity of the racial company lord can be discarded, and she could even say it sincerely. It's truly an eye-opener. Hell Civet, Tang San's family has really taken full advantage of spirit beasts. The wife is a 100,000-year spirit beast, and the daughter-in-law is the company lord of spirit beasts. Have they taken all the powerhouses of the entire spirit beast race into their pockets? Abyssal Demoness, the lord could never do such a thing. This must be a scheme of that Tang San. The lord's status is noble, how could she be a daughter-in-law to a rabbit? Emerald Guardian, Ziji is right. How could the lord call Xiao Wu mother? This is truly against the hierarchy of spirit beasts. I absolutely don't believe the lord would lower her status. Supreme Pontiff, no matter what, this Silver Dragon King was eventually blinded by emotions and completely lost her majesty as a ruler. Being bound by ridiculous ethics, what a pathetic end. Irritable pig farmer, is this the shocking wisdom Lin Yuan mentioned? I think it's more like a shocking joke, giving up revenge in exchange for such a humiliating seniority, so spineless. Chapter 228, Zimu River Water. In the Heaven Do Royal Team's preparation area, Xiao Wu finished reading all the content in the diary copy. She turned her head, her eyes filled with deep resentment, staring straight at Lin Yuan who was sitting next to her. Xiao Wu knew very well in her heart that all those future events Lin Yuan wrote in the diary would be seen by other diary copy owners. This gave Xiao Wu a huge headache, she had no idea how to face Ji Yuina in the future. Just thinking about that high and mighty company lord of spirit beasts actually calling her, Mom, in the original work. Xiaowu felt uneasy all over, her heart trembling with fear, and her palms even broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, the host in the center of the arena officially announced to the audience that today's individual matches had all concluded. Guided by the staff, the tens of thousands of spectators began to exit through various channels in an orderly fashion. Lin Yuan also stood up and led the members of the Heaven Do royal team out of the Great Spirit Arena's gates. Just as they stepped out of the gate, two people approached them head-on. Ning Fengji and Ji Yurong, who had been following behind him, were walking toward Lin Yuan and his group. Seeing her father and grandpa Ji Yu, Ning Rongrong's face immediately lit up with a happy smile. She quickened her pace and trotted over to meet them. Dad, Grandpa Ji Yu, look, didn't our Heaven Do royal team perform amazingly in this exchange competition? Ning Fengji looked at his daughter running over, a very gentle smile appearing on his face. He reached out and gently patted Ning Rongrong's head. Impressive. After Ning Fengji finished speaking, the smile on his face faded slightly, and his expression became somewhat serious. However, I didn't expect that among the two major academies, Tianshui Academy and Blazing Academy, such powerful contestants would be sent today. Especially that Tianshui team, the strength they displayed was truly formidable. Fortunately, Lin Yuan was there this time, his strength was powerful enough to hold the fort. Otherwise, in today's exchange competition, you all might have really made a fool of yourselves on the stage. The reason this three-school exchange competition was fully open to the public and tickets were sold with such fanfare was entirely the intention of the Heaven Do Royal Academy's higher-ups, aiming to showcase their strength to the entire continent. If the Heaven Do Royal team lost to other elemental academies in such a high-profile public setting, it would be quite embarrassing for the Heaven Do Empire and the Royal Academy. Lin Yuan understood the meaning behind Ning Fengji's words, he only nodded slightly and didn't say much. Time passed, and it was soon late at night. In a luxurious high-end hotel in Heaven Do City, several vicious beasts were currently gathered in the same spacious hotel room. Ji Yu Yuina sat in the main seat of the room, her gaze scanning over ZG and the others. The first day of the competition is completely over. Ji Yu Yuina got straight to the point, asking, after having close contact, what do you think of that Lin Yuan? Hearing Ji Yu Yuina's inquiry, the auspicious beast Chower, sitting nearby, immediately raised her small hand excitedly. I think he's very impressive, and his strength is very formidable. After the auspicious beast shared her view, her tone immediately became dejected. She looked at the women in the room somewhat aggrievedly and began to complain. It's a pity the Blazing Fire team I'm in is too weak, they couldn't even force him to take action personally today. Also, you all went to the Tianshui team together, leaving only me and the Blazing Fire team. The auspicious beast pouted, her face full of displeasure. This is so unfair, I feel very bored being there all by myself. Hearing the auspicious beast's complaint, ZG couldn't help but chuckle softly, speaking up to soothe her emotions. How can you blame us? Who told your attribute to be ultimate fire? Whereas the attributes of the rest of us are all directly linked to the water element. Arranging for you to be in the Blazing Fire team is the most logical choice. Besides, didn't we have Baiji and DTN go there specifically to accompany you? The auspicious beast still pouted, not buying ZG's explanation. But the Lord could have clearly come with me too. The auspicious beast turned her gaze toward Ji Yu Yuina, her tone carrying a hint of resentment. The Lord clearly masters all elemental powers, she could have completely displayed the fire element to join the Blazing Fire team. In the end, you were also heartless, leaving me as the only spirit beast alone in the Blazing Fire team. The auspicious beast felt very unbalanced in her heart right now. When the plan was first formulated, she actually didn't think it was a big deal. After all, Baiji was indeed by her side at all times. In the auspicious beast's heart, she had always regarded Baiji as a relative, like a mother. So with Baiji around, she didn't usually feel lonely. However, after experiencing today's matches at the Great Spirit Arena, the auspicious beast's mindset had completely changed. The gap in top-tier combat power between the Blazing Fire team and the Tianshui team was simply too large. In today's individual matches, their Blazing Fire team's performance was not nearly as good as the Tianshui team's, and although she acted open-minded in the morning, she actually didn't like the feeling of losing to others at all. Seeing the auspicious beast's aggrieved look, Ji Yu Yuina's expression became very serious as she reminded everyone in the room. Don't forget what our main purpose was for spending so much effort to transform and come to the human world. Participating in these academy matches is merely a secondary cover. Our primary goal is to reasonably get close to Lin Yuan to obtain rewards from the diary system. Ji Yu Yuina stood up and paced around the room. You've all seen it, there's now a massive variable like Lin Yuan on the human side. In the future, the overall strength of human forces will definitely only grow stronger and stronger. And because we are restricted by the rules of the diary, we absolutely cannot kill Lin Yuan. Since we cannot be enemies, there's only one path left for us. That is to do everything possible to befriend Lin Yuan and make him have a good impression of us. We need to use this method to obtain more resources and things from Lin Yuan that are beneficial to the spirit beast race. Our most ideal goal is to use Lin Yuan's power to strive to maintain the survival balance between humans and spirit beasts in the future. Sitting in the corner, the Snow Empress nodded slightly after hearing Ji Yu Yuina's words. She then raised a question. What about the team matches starting tomorrow? The Snow Empress looked at Ji Yu Yuina and asked, do we need to go all out on the stage to compete? Or should we hold back some strength and save our true trump cards for the Continental Advanced Spirit Master League competition in a year and a half? Hearing this question, the Ice Empress immediately gave a small chuckle. She had absolute confidence in their side strength. Sister Snow Empress, although that Lin Yuan's individual strength today was indeed very strong. To be honest, if it's a 7-on-7 team match tomorrow. The Ice Empress raised her chin and said with great certainty, the Heaven Do royal team might not necessarily be a match for our Tianshui team. Ji Yu Yuina pondered for a moment after hearing them. I feel that there is absolutely no need for us to use our full strength on the stage tomorrow. We came here of our own accord to spar, after all, with the goal of getting Lin Yuan to mention us more in the diary. We should give them some face, we can't let them lose too embarrassingly. Moreover, considering the current defensive measures around the Great Spirit Arena stage. If we truly hold nothing back in the team match, they definitely won't be able to withstand the destructive power we cause when going all out. Ji Yu Yuina's concern was very accurate. The Tianshui team's lineup already included the Spirit Fusion skill, Ice and Snowdrift, from Shui Binger and Shui Wu. And Shui Binger's individual strength had previously been enhanced by the diary copy rewards. She could now perfectly control her Ice Phoenix spirit and was no longer in danger of backlash. Even though Shui Binger's current attribute was still a bit short of reaching the level of ultimate ice. The two standing behind her, the Ice Empress and the Snow Empress, were genuine owners of ultimate attributes. In a team match, the two of them were fully capable of using means to temporarily elevate Shui Bingers and even Shui Wu spirits to the ultimate ice attribute. If it really came to that, what kind of world-destroying power would the spirit fusion skill, Ice and Snow Drift, unleashed with the ultimate ice attribute, possess? The Great Spirit Arena would definitely be completely frozen and destroyed. Besides their auxiliary support for Shui Binger, the Ice Empress and the Snow Empress themselves also possess an extremely powerful spirit fusion skill. The spirit fusion skill they personally performed would also have power that could not be underestimated. And more importantly, both the Ice Empress and the Snow Empress were powerhouses who possessed their own unique domains. Just imagine. In a Spirit Master team of only 7 people, there were 2 spirit fusion skills with staggering destructive power. At the same time, it also possessed the terrifying effect of multiple overlapping domains. Isn't such a team configuration terrifying enough? For other teams, this would be an absolute dimensional strike. As for the Blazing Fire team, although the Auspicious Beast Teacher also had the ability to forcefully boost Huowu's attribute to briefly reach Ultimate Fire. If the Blazing Fire team's overall configuration was compared to the Tianshui team's, then the Blazing Fire team's performance would seem somewhat lacking and completely insufficient. While the vicious beasts in the room were heatedly discussing tomorrow's tactical arrangements, DTN, the Beast God, could only stay outside alone. He was completely excluded from this secret meeting and could only dutifully stand guard outside. DTN actually wanted to prick up his ears and eavesdrop on the conversation inside, but thinking that the Lord, Jiu Yuina, was presiding within, he didn't dare to act on it. DTN's heart was still filled with deep confusion. He still couldn't understand why the Lord was so persistent about transforming and coming to the human world. Although Jiu Yuina had given a very noble reason to the vicious beasts back in the Stardew Great Forest. Jiu Yuina said at the time, it is all for the future of the spirit beast race. That was why she decided to force a transformation to find a way out, despite her injuries not yet being fully healed. And at that time, the Auspicious Beast Teacher had also joined in the persuasion. The Auspicious Beast vowed that with her Eye of Destiny, she had glimpsed a sliver of heavenly secrets regarding the future. She said that in that future, there was a key opportunity for humans and the spirit beast race to coexist somewhat amicably. And that critical node that could change the fate of spirit beasts was tied entirely to a specific human. If it had only been the Lord Jiu Yuina saying so. DTN might have still harbored a bit of doubt in his heart, thinking the Lord might have misjudged. But seeing that even the Auspicious Beast, who controlled luck, said so with such certainty. DTN had no room to object at that time. After all, what the Auspicious Beast controlled was the absolute power of destiny. Since destiny had provided guidance, he naturally could not stand in the way. Therefore, DTN could only helplessly allow ZG and the others to follow the Lord in transforming and entering the human world. Standing outside the door now, DTN could only secretly pray in his heart. He hoped that the Lord's much-touted supreme wisdom would absolutely not be wrong this time. Time passed minute by minute. Finally, it reached midnight. Inside the dormitory of the Heaven Do Royal Academy. In Lin Yuan's mind, the system's prompt sounded right on time. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining today's diary entry. Ding, it has been detected that the diary content recorded by the host today has caused a massive reaction, successfully triggering a critical strike reward. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the reward. God bestowed Spirit Ring *2. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the reward. 1 portion of Zimu River Water. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the reward. 1 Brother Scar Behavior Designation Card. Hearing this series of system prompts, Lin Yuan immediately opened the system's inventory to examine the detailed descriptions of these rewards. God bestowed Spirit Ring, a special consumable. After the host absorbs it, it will grant the host a top-tier Spirit Ring of up to 100,000 year rank, depending on the host's physical endurance limit. Zimu River Water, a special potion. After any creature consumes this water, it ignores species rules, regardless of male or female, they will immediately become pregnant. Brother Scar Behavior Designation Card, a special conceptual item. The host can use it on someone with insight or a specific individual. After using this item, the designated person will uncontrollably perform Brother Scar behaviors in public. System's warm suggestion. If this item is used in conjunction with Zimu River Water, the effect will reach its peak. Lin Yuan looked at the descriptions of these 3 rewards on the virtual panel and fell into a long silence. Seeing the Zimu River Water and this prank-like Brother Scar Behavior Designation Card, for some reason, the first target candidates that popped into Lin Yuan's mind were unexpectedly Yu Xiaogang and Tang Hao. This was a bit too much for his tastes. Chapter 229, Di Choer's Cultivation Technique, Lu Erlong's Mission. Meanwhile, Yu Xiaogang, who was deep in thought about the details of today's tournament, suddenly shivered violently for no apparent reason, a sudden chill washing over him without warning. Yu Xiaogang tightened his clothes, his brows furrowed. He felt as if, in the dark, something bad was about to happen to him. This sixth sense made him feel extremely uneasy. While Lin Yuan was currently in high spirits, his mischievous nature had been completely piqued by these 2 bizarre rewards from the system. Lin Yuan did not hesitate in the slightest. He operated the system interface directly, deciding to issue a task to Lu Erlong. Over the past few years, through writing his diary every day, Lin Yuan had slowly accumulated quite a few opportunities to issue tasks. Because there was usually no need to issue tasks, Lin Yuan had simply saved these opportunities up. Now, it was exactly the right time to put them to use. System, consume 1 task opportunity and immediately issue a task to the target, Lu Erlong. Task content, have Lu Erlong take this mother-child river water and find an opportunity to make Yu Xiaogang drink it. After giving the instruction, Lin Yuan immediately transmitted the mother-child river water from the system space. Meanwhile, on the other side, across the entire Douluo Continent, all the women who possessed a diary copy were not resting at this moment. They were all paying attention to the diary system interface in front of them. They were all waiting for the settlement after midnight, wanting to see who the lucky one would be today to receive the generous rewards randomly distributed by the system. Soon, a text prompt appeared on the diary copy. Ding, the system has detected that there are many owners of the instance mentioned by the host in the diary today. After comprehensive judgment by the system, 2 people will receive the lucky reward distributed by the system today. The winners are Jiu Yuina and Di Choer. Seeing this prompt, the 2 women in the hotel room immediately revealed looks of anticipation. Congratulations to Jiu Yuina for receiving the reward. 30% of her damaged origin injury is instantly recovered. Congratulations to Di Choer for receiving the reward, a specialized cultivation technique and martial skill. This cultivation technique and martial skill is perfectly suited for Di Choer's ultimate fire, ultimate light, and power of destiny attributes. Cultivation technique name. Open double angle bracket radiant heaven destiny true art close double angle bracket. Di Choa looked at the cultivation technique reward she had received and jumped off the bed in excitement. Her feet landed heavily on the mattress, her face full of an excited smile. Subsequently, a massive stream of information appeared out of thin air and poured directly into Di Choa's mind. Di Choa closed her eyes and began to earnestly digest this massive amount of information. This was a top-tier cultivation technique that perfectly matched her own attributes. It could perfectly perform a fusion of the ultimate fire and ultimate light attributes within her. When the cultivation technique was in operation, it could absorb sunlight energy from the outside world and convert it into pure spirit power. At the same time, this cultivation technique could also nurture the power of destiny within her, enhancing her control over the power of destiny. In addition to the basic cultivation technique, open double angle bracket radiant heaven destiny true art close double angle bracket also came with 3 very powerful martial skills. The first martial skill was named Radiant Judgment. This was a single target attack martial skill. The user could compress ultimate light and ultimate fire at a single point and launch it at a locked target. If the target's power of destiny was in a negative state, the damage of this skill would increase exponentially. The second martial skill was named Destiny Shield. This was a defensive martial skill where the user could condense an energy shield composed of light and fire attributes around their body. This shield had the effect of reflecting physical attacks and could counteract most mental force detection. The third martial skill was named Destiny Flash. This was a displacement and attack martial skill. The user could transform into a flash of fire and perform space jumps in an extremely short time. At the starting and ending points of the jump, strong flame explosions would occur. Di Choa opened her eyes, her gaze filled with excitement. With this cultivation technique, her combat power would receive a huge boost. She decided to find an opportunity to test the power of these new martial skills in tomorrow's team competition. In another room, Ji Yuina sat cross-legged on the bed quietly, clearly feeling the rapid recovery of her internal injuries. A gentle energy circulated through her limbs and bones, repairing old wounds. This made her feel very excited. You must know that over the past 4 years, she had been paying attention to the updates of the diary, but she had only intermittently received rewards totaling a 30% recovery of her injuries from the system. Yet today, she had only made a brief appearance on the competition field, and the system had directly issued a massive reward of 30% recovery at once. Combined with previous accumulations, more than half of her origin injuries had already recovered. Her strength had also been greatly stabilized as a result. Compared to this, the complaints written by Lin Yuan in the diary were completely insignificant. After all, the things written in the diary about dying for love and acknowledging Xiao Wu as a mother had not happened yet. As long as she knew the ending in advance, she would never let those things become reality. Ji Yuina calculated in her heart and felt that the decision to transform and come to the human world this time was truly very worthwhile. In Heaven Do City, in a quiet courtyard of Blue Tyrant Academy, Lu Erlong was sitting at the table in her room. A system task panel suddenly popped up in front of her. This was a directed task issued by the system, which was Lin Yuan. Lu Erlong looked at the content on the task panel, and her brows furrowed tightly. The task content actually required her to find an opportunity to make Yu Xiaogang drink a bottle of water. As the task was issued, a small transparent glass bottle appeared on her desktop. The bottle was filled with transparent liquid, looking no different from ordinary clear water. Lu Erlong did not yet know what the purpose of this bottle of water was. She was a bit worried. What if this water was poisonous? Although she had no good feelings for Yu Xiaogang anymore, she couldn't just kill someone for no reason, right? If the task were to beat Yu Xiaogang up, she would have agreed immediately. Lu Erlong asked the system directly in her mind. System, what exactly is this bottle of water? Is it poisonous? The system's cold, mechanical voice quickly rang in her mind. This system is not that low class. For a level 29 who has broken through to 50 years old like Yu Xiaogang, is there any need to use methods like poisoning? You just need to follow the task requirements and make him drink it. This system guarantees that this water is not poisonous and won't kill anyone. The corners of Lu Erlong's mouth twitched slightly. Level 29 and broken through 50 years old. Subsequently, she continued to look at the reward column at the bottom of the task panel. Task reward. After completing the task, spirit power will increase by 1 rank, and a god-bestowed spirit ring will be obtained. Seeing this generous reward, Lu Erlong's breathing suddenly became rapid. The trace of hesitation in her heart instantly vanished without a trace. Her current spirit power rank was already that of an level 89 spirit Douluo. If she could successfully complete this task, she could directly break through the bottleneck and reach level 90. Moreover, that god-bestowed spirit ring was an even more priceless treasure. This meant that her 9th spirit ring could directly obtain a 100,000-year red spirit ring configuration. For any spirit master, this was a huge temptation that could not be refused. Anyway, she had long lost the filter and feelings she had for Yu Xiaogang back then, using a bottle of water for Yu Xiaogang to drink in exchange for becoming a titled Douluo with a 100,000-year spirit ring. No matter how you calculate this deal, it was very worthwhile. Lu Erlong reached out and held the small bottle on the table tightly in her hand. She had already started planning in her mind what excuse to use to ask Yu Xiaogang out for a drink. Time rewound to a few hours earlier. In a spacious room at the Heaven Do Royal Hotel, the main characters of Shrek Academy were all gathered here. The people in the room were Yu Xiaogang, Flender, Zhao Wuji, as well as students Ma Hongjun, Tang San, Dai Mubai, and Oscar. Besides the people from Shrek, Jinming was also present. After the Great Spirit Arena competition ended today, Flender couldn't wait to stop Jinming at the entrance as he was preparing to return to the academy. Having watched the entire process of the individual competition today, Flender had a belly full of doubts he wanted to ask. He dragged Jinming directly into this hotel room. In the room, the atmosphere was somewhat serious. Flender pulled over a chair and sat down, his gaze fixed on Jinming standing opposite him. Flender spoke. Jinming, is there nothing you want to explain to us in detail? Isn't the strength of your Heaven Do team a bit too powerful? Those 10,000-year spirit rings, how on earth did you achieve that? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes in the room were focused on Jinming. Yu Xiaogang and Tang San's gazes were even more urgent. Facing everyone's questioning gazes, Jinming could only smile bitterly and said, Dean, regarding this matter, to be honest, I am not very clear about it either. The few of them have always been mavericks in the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Hearing this, Flender's brows immediately furrowed, and he asked in confusion, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by mavericks? Jinming sighed and began to explain in detail. The academy only provides them with a mimicry cultivation environment, and besides that, provides various high-grade foods that can accelerate physical recovery and cultivation speed, and so on. These are conventional training methods for advanced spirit master academies. Qin paused, then continued, however, methods that can significantly cross ranks to accelerate their cultivation speed. Or even allow them to break common sense and obtain those unusual spirit ring configurations. These special situations have nothing to do with the Heaven Do Royal Academy. As far as I know, all of this is related to Lin Yuan, who was the captain of the Heaven Do team. Hearing this name, the atmosphere in the room changed instantly. Related to Lin Yuan, Yu Xiaogang stood up abruptly from his seat and asked loudly first, what does this mean? What methods could a young man like him have? Qin looked at the agitated Yu Xiaogang and replied truthfully, I heard some information revealed by the higher-ups in the academy. I heard that behind Lin Yuan stands a teacher with unfathomable strength. The reason why the overall strength of the Heaven Do team can improve so quickly is perhaps all related to that teacher of Lin Yuan. Hearing this explanation, everyone in the room fell into silence, and Zhao Wuji on the side interjected to break the quiet. Today, it wasn't just the strength of the Heaven Do team that shocked us, the strength of the Blazing Fire team and Tianshui team was also completely unusual. Zhao Wuji recalled the match scenes from the day, his voice rough, according to the participation standards of the previous Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament. The Tianshui team and Blazing Fire team that played today, if you picked any one of them, they would have the absolute strength to compete for the final championship. Especially that Tianshui team, they actually had 4 Spirit Emperors, this lineup is simply terrifying. Qin nodded in agreement after hearing Zhao Wuji's words. Teacher Zhao is right. To be honest, the team configurations of the 2 major academies, Tianshui and Blazing Fire, this year also greatly exceeded the expectations of our academy's higher-ups. No wonder they had the guts to take the initiative to challenge our Heaven Do Royal Academy to this exchange match. And our academy's higher-ups originally wanted to take advantage of the opportunity of public ticket sales for this exchange match. To show the forces of the entire continent how powerful the students of this generation of Heaven Do Royal Academy are. If Lin Yuan hadn't appeared today, perhaps our Heaven Do Academy would have lost directly when facing that person named Ji Yuina. Oscar and Ma Hongjun's eyes lit up, they were clearly unaware of the past events between Tang San, Yu Xiaogang, and Lin Yuan in Nuoding City. Oscar looked at Qin excitedly and asked, Teacher Qin, then if we successfully join the Heaven Do Royal Academy tomorrow, as members of the second team, will we also have the opportunity to come into contact with Lin Yuan and improve our strength significantly like the first team? Ma Hongjun rubbed his hands on the side, also full of anticipation. Yeah, if that Lin Yuan or his teacher could help me solve the problem of the evil fire backlash, that would be even better. Facing the fantasies of these 2 teenagers, Qin still shook his head very rationally. I cannot guarantee this, it depends on you actively contacting Lin Yuan after you officially enter the academy tomorrow to see how your relationship develops. Lin Yuan has a relatively cold personality, whether he is willing to help or not depends entirely on his own mood. After saying this, Qin checked the time, he felt that the atmosphere in the room had become somewhat awkward because Lin Yuan was mentioned. Dean, there are still many matters regarding the exchange match in the academy that I need to go back and handle. I won't stay here any longer and will leave first. Chapter 230, Tang San's Withdrawal. Qin stood up and said to everyone, after the team competition concludes tomorrow afternoon, I will come to take you to handle the enrollment procedures. Flender nodded and saw Qin out the room door. After Qin left, the atmosphere in the room became even more oppressive. Oscar turned his head at this moment, noticing that the emotions of Daimubai and Tang San were clearly wrong, their expressions were terribly gloomy. Oscar walked over and asked with concern, Boss Dai, Little San, what is wrong with you two? You haven't said a word since we returned from watching the match. Tang San lowered his head, not saying a word. Daimubai raised his head, glanced at Oscar, and then looked at the others in the room. Daimubai thought to himself that everyone was now brothers in the same academy, and such things could not be hidden forever. He took a deep breath and finally spoke. We are all brothers, so I will tell you the truth. Daimubai's voice sounded very low. The girl named Zhu Zuqing in the Heaven Do team was previously my fiancé. Hearing this, the room fell silent for a second. Upon hearing this, Ma Hongjun's small eyes lit up immediately. He completely failed to notice Daimubai's low spirits and excitedly slapped his thigh. Boss Dai, you are really something. That girl named Zhu Zuqing in the Heaven Do team has the best figure in the entire arena, besides that Zhu Zuyun. She is actually your fiancé. You are incredibly lucky. Ma Hongjun moved closer to Daimubai, eagerly offering ideas. Since you have this connection, once we enroll, we can completely leverage your relationship with her. We can go and build a relationship with that captain named Lin Yuan. Perhaps we can get quite a few good resources. Before Ma Hongjun could finish his sentence, his mouth was covered by Oscar next to him, forcibly stopping him. Fatty, say less. Oscar glared at Ma Hongjun and whispered a reminder. Can't you see that Boss Dai is in a very low mood? Clearly, things are not as simple as you imagine. She is already a former fiancé. Hearing Oscar's words, Daimubai sighed heavily. It is indeed as little outguessed. Things have already changed. I don't intend to continue hiding it from you. I am actually the current third prince of the Douluo imperial family. Hearing Daimubai's true identity, Ma Hongjun and Oscar were so shocked their mouths hung open. Daimubai ignored their surprise and continued. And that Zhu Zuqing comes from the Zhu family of the Douluo Empire. The White Tiger martial soul of the Douluo imperial family and the Nether Spirit Cat martial soul of the Zhu family have an extremely high spirit compatibility. On the day Zhu Zuqing underwent her spirit awakening, the family specially conducted a test. The test results showed that she and I possess perfect spirit compatibility, allowing us to perform a spirit fusion skill. Therefore, the royal family had us engaged on the spot. However, just one day, several years ago, the spirit compatibility between us strangely disappeared. Not long after the compatibility disappeared, Zhu Zuqing and her sister Zhu Zuyun left the Douluo Empire directly, ran to the Heaven Do Empire, and joined the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Oscar heard this with an expression of disbelief. He couldn't help but ask, can something as innate as spirit compatibility disappear into thin air? Also, Zhu Zuqing's sister, Zhu Zuyun, played today as well. Could it be that she ran over with her younger sister for the same reason? Daimubai, yes, you guessed it exactly right. Zhu Zuyun was originally my elder brother's fiancé. They also originally had spirit compatibility. But for the exact same reason, the compatibility vanished simultaneously, and the two sisters ran away together. Zhao Wuji listened from the side and asked with some confusion, since the engagement was just annulled, why would you, a dignified prince, run to the Heaven Do Empire? Daimubai gave a bitter smile, because our Douluo imperial family has a very special rule for imperial succession. Princes must compete based on their absolute individual martial power. The loser only faces death or having their spirit completely crippled and being exiled. Daimubai's voice held a trace of despair. The age difference between my elder brother and me is quite large, and our cultivation time differs by several years. There is no way I could defeat my elder brother within the stipulated time. Staying meant certain death, so not long after the engagement was annulled, I gave up on the competition. I ran directly from the Douluo Empire to the Heaven Do Empire and finally joined Shrek Academy to avoid the limelight. And as for what happened next, you all know. Yu Xiaogang sat to the side, keenly noticing the emotional changes in Tang San. He saw that Tang San had been keeping his head lowered, his eyes filled with loss and confusion. Yu Xiaogang knew his disciple's mind, so he turned and asked the others in the room to leave first. Flender and the others did not ask further, stood up, left the room, and closed the door behind them. Only Yu Xiaogang and Tang San remained in the room. Yu Xiaogang looked at Tang San and spoke with a serious tone. Little San, after watching the match today, do you feel that Lin Yuan is very powerful? Tang San raised his head, a trace of surprise in his eyes. Yu Xiaogang continued, seeing the strength he displayed on the arena today, do you have other thoughts in your mind? Are you thinking of adding a spirit ring to the Clear Sky Hammer in advance and cultivating the Clear Sky Hammer? Tang San was slightly stunned. He never expected his teacher to see through his thoughts so directly. Was his emotional change really that obvious? Even his teacher could see it. Tang San silently acknowledged this in his heart. While watching the match earlier, this thought had indeed flashed through his mind multiple times. Because the strength of his current blue silver grass spirit was simply too low. When he obtained his second soul ring, he accidentally absorbed a 10-year withered bamboo spirit ring. This white 10-year spirit ring held him back severely, causing his blue silver grass spirit to not only fail to gain powerful toxicity, but even the toughness of the vines was greatly compromised. The control and defensive capabilities of the blue silver grass in actual combat were far below expectations and could easily be cut by opponents. If he gave up continuing to cultivate the blue silver grass now and switched directly to cultivating the number 1 tool spirit under heaven, the Clear Sky Hammer. Relying on the powerful attack power of the Clear Sky Hammer, his cultivation speed and combat capability should become faster. Actually, before they left Soto City and set off for Heaven Do City, Tang San had already mentally prepared himself. He had long known that Lin Yuan's cultivation would definitely be higher than his. However, his original estimation was that Lin Yuan was at most only a dozen ranks of spirit power higher than him. In Tang San's view, this gap of a dozen ranks was not an insurmountable chasm. He had the huge advantage of twin spirits. He planned to endure and wait until his spirit power slowly reached the realm of a level 70 spirit saint. At that time, he could start adding high-age, powerful spirit rings to his second spirit, the Clear Sky Hammer. As long as the Clear Sky Hammer had a few spirit rings over 10,000 years, he could quickly catch up to Lin Yuan in strength, or even achieve a full overtake in rank and combat power in the late stage. But now, after seeing the individual matches at the Great Spirit Arena today with his own eyes, Tang San was completely withdrawn, the plan and confidence in his heart were completely shattered. His current spirit power rank was only level 31, while Lin Yuan's spirit power had already reached level 69. That was a gap of 38 whole ranks. This was a gap in rank that made one feel despair. Moreover, Tang San knew very well that the law of a spirit master's cultivation is that it becomes more difficult the further one goes. The spirit power required for promotion increases exponentially, the gap of 38 ranks between them would only grow larger. What made Tang San feel even more powerless was his current spirit ring configuration, because his second soul ring was the 10-year withered bamboo. This not only lowered the quality of the blue silver grass but also seriously affected his body's upper limit for bearing higher age spirit rings. Therefore, when he obtained his third spirit ring, the age his body could withstand shrank significantly. The age of his third spirit ring ended up being just over 1,000 years, which was far below the 1,700-year limit that a genius spirit elder could absorb. The spirit beast he hunted for his third spirit ring was exactly the same species as in the original work, still a man-faced demon spider, possessing potent poison and powerful penetration. However, this man-faced demon spider was not the same devil spider from the original work. The age was wrong, so naturally, it did not drop the precious external spirit bone. Without the blessing of the 8 spider lance's external spirit bone, Tang San's overall combat power was very ordinary. Facing those geniuses, he had no trump cards to pull out for cross-rank fighting. After all, in a normal match, he couldn't exactly take out his hidden weapons. As for Tang's ultimate techniques like the mysterious Jade Hand, they could not be the key to victory in battle for him at present. Yu Xiaogang watched Tang San's changing expression, knowing he had fallen into deep self-doubt. Yu Xiaogang stepped forward, patted Tang San's shoulder, and said in a low voice. Little San, you must remember one thing, if you cannot tolerate small things, you will spoil great plans. The Clear Sky Hammer is your greatest trump card, you absolutely must not easily expose it or add low-grade spirit rings at this time. In my opinion, your twin spirit's talent is absolutely stronger than Lin Yuan's. You are only lagging behind for a moment due to the limitation of objective conditions. After the team competition ends tomorrow, Qinming will take us to officially join the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Our cultivation environment will undergo earth-shaking changes, even if you cannot obtain their special methods for improving physique and accelerating cultivation from Lin Yuan at that time. But as long as you rely on the top-tier mimicry cultivation resources inside the Heaven Do Royal Academy, your daily cultivation speed will definitely be much faster than it was in Soto City. Yu Xiaogang paused and lowered his voice. Also, don't forget, your father has already told you clearly before. Once your spirit power rank reaches level 50, he will take you to a place. He will personally help you awaken the Blue Silver Emperor bloodline in your body. Once the bloodline is awakened, your spirit will undergo a qualitative leap, and your cultivation speed will also increase significantly. Yu Xiaogang continued, and your father also said that he has prepared a precious gift for you in advance. Regarding that gift, I have carefully inferred it privately. If I am not mistaken, that gift is very likely a spirit bone. Hearing this, the previously dim light in Tang San's eyes shone brightly again. That's right, how could he have forgotten the most important thing? As long as he persisted in cultivating until level 50, he could go and awaken a higher level bloodline for his blue silver grass. By then, with his spirit evolving into the Blue Silver Emperor, his cultivation speed would definitely be able to receive a huge boost again. With this expectation, the frustration in Tang San's heart finally lessened a lot. Actually, Yu Xiaogang's guess was very accurate. The special gift Tang Hao mentioned back then was indeed that 100,000-year Blue Silver Emperor right leg bone, but this was not something Tang Hao had told Yu Xiaogang himself. Tang Hao was cautious and had never revealed a single bit of information about this 100,000-year spirit bone to outsiders. This was entirely something Yu Xiaogang had slowly guessed based on his own understanding of the Spirit Master's world. After all, Yu Xiaobing knew that Tang San's mother was a blue-silver emperor with 100,000 years of cultivation who had transformed and recultivated, and when Tang San's mother faced the pursuit of the spirit hall and had to choose to sacrifice herself. The 6 spirit bone slots on Tang Hao's body were already fully equipped. Tang Hao could not absorb any excess spirit bones. Therefore, the 100,000-year spirit bone left behind after Tang San's mother sacrificed and died had definitely not been consumed. This spirit bone should still be stored in Tang Hao's possession. And during these 4 years, Tang Hao had not been running around. He had spent most of his time in the shadows, silently following by Tang San's side. He had spent a great deal of energy teaching Tang San the disorder-splitting wind hammer method of the clear sky hammer hand in hand. At the same time, he also supervised Tang San's waterfall body refining training to polish his physical foundation. Because he had to focus his energy on cultivating his son, Tang Hao rarely had time to go elsewhere. He also had few opportunities to go to the cave by the waterfall behind Saint Spirit Village to visit Ayin. During these years, Tang Hao had actually returned to check a few times, but he had not discovered any abnormalities. Because when Lin Yuan went to take Ayin away a long time ago, he had disguised the scene. Lin Yuan had deliberately left a blue-silver grass with blue-gold stripes at the original location. Not only that, Lin Yuan also attached and left a trace of Ayin's original aura on that blue-silver grass. This aura was very real, enough to pass for the real thing. Chapter 231, Team Competition, Collision of Ultimate Attributes, Spirit Ring Fusion. Therefore, every time Tang Hao hurried back to take a look, after sensing the familiar aura, he did not discover anything unusual. He had no idea that his wife had long since been taken away by someone. As for the current state of Tang San's right leg, there was indeed a significant hidden danger. Previously, in order to absorb a spirit ring, Tang San had accidentally fused a 10-year withered bamboo right leg bone into his right leg. If a normal spirit master absorbed a low-grade spirit bone, it would mean wasting a spirit bone slot, making it impossible to replace. However, Tang Hao was actually not very worried about this, because he was clear about the ability attached to that 100,000-year blue-silver emperor right leg bone. That was a top-tier plant-type spirit bone at the 100,000-year level. The blue-silver emperor possessed the most tenacious vitality among plant-type spirit beasts. That spirit bone would definitely come with a powerful healing spirit ability. With this spirit ability as a guarantee, when the time came, as long as Tang San reached the conditions to absorb a spirit bone, Tang Hao had a way to perfectly replace the 10-year lone bamboo spirit bone for Tang San. However, this replacement process would be quite cruel. It would require Tang San to personally cut off his own right leg and endure the pain of amputation. Precisely because he had this fallback method, quite coincidentally, Tang Hao had not gone to that cave in the past few years to inspect the place where the blue-silver emperor right leg bone was buried. He felt that it was absolutely safe there and didn't need to be repeatedly confirmed, otherwise, during this 4-year gap. As long as Tang Hao had checked it once, he would have immediately discovered that the 100,000-year spirit bone stored in the lead box had long since vanished, taken away by someone. The next morning, the Heaven-Do Great Spirit Arena had opened its entrance channels very early. The audience was full of enthusiasm, and soon the entire Great Spirit Arena was packed with people. Every viewing area was full, and even the aisles were crowded with people wanting to watch the match. Today's match project was a team battle that tested coordination even more. All participating members of the Heaven-Do Royal Team, Blazing Fire Team, and Tianshui Team had already arrived early at their respective exclusive preparation areas, waiting. And for today's team competition, the draw method was still used to decide the battle order. The captains of the 3 teams walked out from their preparation areas to the center of the arena to draw lots. The drawing process was very fast. The host received the results and announced them loudly to the entire venue. The teams for the first match of this team competition were the Tianshui Team versus the Blazing Fire Team. Hearing this matchup list, the audience in the surrounding stands immediately erupted into lively discussion. The audience was very excited. Many stood up directly from their seats, waving their arms and shouting. Now we have a good show to watch, a comprehensive collision between 2 major elemental academies. The Tianshui Team won the individual match yesterday. I wonder if the Blazing Fire Team can regain their standing in the team competition today. Many people immediately ran towards the official betting point set up inside the Great Spirit Arena. They wanted to place bets during this pre-match time, wagering that the team they supported would win this first team competition. A long line formed in front of the betting odds, and everyone chatted and analyzed loudly while waiting in line. I am definitely betting on the Tianshui Team to win. The strength they displayed yesterday was too terrifying. Yeah, that's a lineup with 4 Spirit Emperors. Who can stop them when 7 people go up together in a team competition? This is a configuration that has never appeared in the history of the Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament. I bet all 500 gold coins I have on the Tianshui Team. This is definitely a sure win deal. But some audience members held different views, choosing to strongly support the Blazing Fire Team. You don't understand at all. Team competitions value attribute coordination and tactical execution. Although the Tianshui Team has many Spirit Emperors, the Blazing Fire Team also has experts at the Spirit Emperor level leading the team. That girl named Di Choer, those 2 attributes of light and fire, look very extraordinary at first glance. Moreover, the siblings Huo Wushwang and Huo Wu of the Blazing Fire Team have always had very tacit coordination. The explosive power of the Blazing Fire Team is definitely top tier among all elemental academies. I favor them to make a comeback in the team competition. Fortune favors the bold. The Blazing Fire Team has high odds. I'm betting 1,000 gold coins that the Blazing Fire Team wins. Subsequently, the atmosphere throughout the Great Spirit Arena was completely ignited. Everyone stared intently at the arena, waiting for the match to begin. On the central arena of the Heaven-Do Great Spirit Arena, the host announced loudly to the entire audience. Dear audience, after yesterday's individual match, today we will welcome an even more exciting team competition. The first team duel about to begin is the Tianshui Team versus the Blazing Fire Team. Now, please have the participating members from both sides enter the arena in an orderly fashion. As the host's voice fell, the passage gates on both sides of the Great Spirit Arena opened simultaneously. The 7 members of the Tianshui Team lined up in a neat column and slowly walked out from the left passage. Walking in the very front was the captain, Shui Binger, followed by Shui Wu and Yu Hero. Further behind were Ji Yu Yuina, Ziji, Ice Empress, and Snow Empress. All 7 of them were wearing the Tianshui Academy's uniform blue team outfits, their steps very calm. On the other side, in the right passage, the 7 members of the Blazing Fire Team also walked out. Huo Wushwang and Di Choer walked at the very front of the team. Huo Wu walked in the middle position between the 2 of them, followed by the 4 members, Huo Bao, Huo Yun, Huo Xing, and Huo Yu. The 7 members of the Blazing Fire Team were all wearing dark red team outfits, their expressions very serious. The tens of thousands of spectators in the outer stands saw the members of both teams enter the arena and immediately erupted into huge cheers. The audience was very excited, and everyone started discussing loudly in their seats. Many spectators were still holding the betting slips they had just bought at the betting point. Finally, the team competition has started. This match will definitely be exciting. The discussions of the audience rose and fell. The entire Great Spirit Arena was clamorous. In the center of the arena, the referee had already taken a stand. The referee watched as all 14 members of both sides walked to their designated positions and stood still. He raised his right hand and shouted loudly, "Both teams prepare, release your spirits." As soon as his voice fell, the arena instantly lit up with the light of various spirits and spirit rings. On the Tianshui team side, a large expanse of blue water attribute and ice attribute spirit power soared into the sky. There were a total of 4 spirit emperors here, and a powerful spirit power pressure spread in all directions. On the blazing fire team side, a large expanse of red fire attribute spirit power instantly erupted. The Eye of Destiny appeared on Dichoer's forehead, and the phantom of the three-eyed golden lion spirit emerged behind her. The 6 spirit rings on her body lit up, and the aura of ultimate light and fire resisted the cold from the opposite side. Both sides finished releasing their spirits, and the air on the arena twisted due to the contrast in temperature. Seeing that both sides were ready, the referee forcefully waved his right hand down. Match start. The battle officially began the moment the referee's voice fell, and the blazing fire team immediately changed their formation according to the prearranged tactics. Dichoer extended her right hand, directly injecting the pure ultimate fire spirit power within her body into Huowu's body. The flames on Huowu's body were originally ordinary dark red, but after receiving Dichoer's ultimate fire, the color of the flames on Huowu's body changed instantly. The flames turned into a bright gold red, and the surrounding air made noises as it was scorched by the high temperature. In a short period, Dichoer used her ability to successfully help Huowu's attribute rise to the level of ultimate fire. This was the blazing fire team's method to counter the Tianshui team's ice attribute suppression. After completing the attribute upgrade, the blazing fire team began to launch an attack. Huo Wushwang and Dichoer flashed, rushing to the very front of the team. As the team's main attackers, they were responsible for charging at the Tianshui team's defensive line from the front. Huo Wushwang's third spirit ring lit up, and his fists condensed into huge flaming dragon heads, smashing forward. Gold claws grew on Dichoer's fingertips, carrying extreme high temperatures as she followed by Huo Wushwang's side. While the two of them launched a frontal attack, the member with the fire leopard spirit and the two members with the fire crane spirit fully utilized the speed advantages of their spirits to quickly move around from both the left and right sides. The fire leopard member ran on all fours along the edge of the arena, looking for gaps to attack. Huo Yun glided in midair, diving from above, attempting to launch a surprise attack from the side. And standing at the very back of the team were the two support system spirit masters, Huo Yu and Huo Xing. The spirit rings on their bodies flickered constantly, continuously providing attack amplification and speed bonuses to the 4 main attackers in front. The blazing fire team's coordination was very tacit. The frontal and side attacks arrived almost simultaneously. Facing the blazing fire team's fierce attack formation, the Tianshui team's response appeared very calm. After all, the Tianshui team occupied an absolute advantage in overall strength. Jiyu Yuina stood quietly in the center of the team, and she didn't need to make a move herself at all. ZG moved, directly meeting the fire leopard and Huo Yun who were attacking from the side. Dark black water whips condensed in ZG's hands. She just swung the whips casually, sealing off all the attack routes of the fire leopard and Huo Yun. The fire leopard and Huo Yun were completely unable to get close to the Tianshui team's back row. On the frontal battlefield, Ice Empress and Snow Empress walked forward side by side. Facing the charge of Huo Wushwang and Dichoer, the two of them had no intention of retreating at all. Ice Empress raised her right hand, and extremely cold spirit power condensed in her palm. A layer of thick, solid ice instantly formed on the ground, spreading all the way to Huo Wushwang's feet. Huo Wushwang stepped on the solid ice, and his speed was immediately severely affected. Subsequently, a huge ice shield appeared directly in front. This ice shield was entirely condensed from ultimate ice, with a thickness reaching half a meter. Huo Wushwang's flaming dragon head smashed into the ice shield and were instantly frozen. The flames could not melt Snow Empress's ultimate ice at all. Don't waste your effort. Your flames cannot break through my ultimate ice at all. Give up, Ice Empress said indifferently. Seeing this, Dichoer immediately used a cultivation technique and martial skill obtained from the system. She unleashed the Radiant Sun Judgment, a highly compressed beam of light fire energy shooting toward the ice shield. The energy beam hit the ice shield, creating a huge explosion. Several cracks appeared on the surface of the ice shield, but it did not shatter completely. Although Dichoer's strength was very strong and the power of her martial skill was great, she was now facing 2 spirit emperors who also possessed ultimate attributes, Ice Empress and Snow Empress. The ice shield used by the two of them together was not that easy to break through. Moreover, Jiyu Yuina and ZG were also there in the Tianshui team to hold the line. Even if Dichoer used the system's martial skill, she could not stop everyone on the opposite side on her own. Her attack was quickly neutralized by the joint efforts of Ice Empress and Snow Empress. The blazing fire team was completely at a disadvantage in the first wave of clashes. Huo stood in the middle of the team, calmly observing the entire battle situation. They had already anticipated this situation before the match, so they had formulated a plan from the beginning. Huo knew that a frontal hard fight would definitely not be won, so she had to look for an opportunity to use her strongest strike. Before finding the timing for spirit ring fusion, Huo had to ensure that the team's formation was not scattered. The third purple spirit ring on Huo's body lit up instantly, and she unleashed her third spirit ability, Resist Fire Ring. A huge gold-red flame ring erupted from Huo's body, spreading rapidly in all directions. This Resist Fire Ring contained the energy of ultimate fire, which increased the power of the spirit ability and possessed a stronger repulsive force. The Resist Fire Ring directly collided with Ice Empress and Snow Empress in front, forcing their figures back a few steps. At the same time, this fire ring also pushed CG on the side back a certain distance. Huo used the all-around repulsive effect of the Resist Fire Ring to perform control and support. She continuously released the Resist Fire Ring, blocking the Tianshui team members at a safe distance. Huo was using this method to buy time for herself to observe flaws. Time passed minute by minute, and the other members of the Blazing Fire team were struggling to hold on. Just at this moment, Huo's eyes lit up. She saw that when Ice Empress was neutralizing one of Huo Wushwang's attacks, there was a slight pause in her defensive movement. The opponent had a slight flaw. Huo immediately shouted, "It's now, support me." Huo Xing and Huo Yu, who were standing at the very back, heard the order and did not hesitate at all. The two of them extracted all the remaining spirit power in their bodies. Spark like rain. 2 thick red beams of spirit power shot out from the two of them, directly injecting into Huo's body. The two of them applied full support amplification to Huowu, and the aura on Huowu's body surged instantly. All the spirit rings under Huowu lit up, and the energy of the first 4 spirit rings, under Huowu's control, all converged onto the 5th spirit ring. Spirit ring fusion. Huowu shouted loudly, releasing her 5th spirit ability. 5th spirit ability, Flame Meteor. After unleashing this 5th spirit ability, several flame meteors condensed on Huowu's body. With a wave of her hand, these flame meteors directly tracked and flew toward every member of the Tianshui team. Each meteor contained extreme explosive power. The entire sky was illuminated red by these flame meteors, and the audience in the surrounding stands felt the terrifying high temperature, shielding their faces with their hands one after another. Huowu knew very well in her heart that if this strike could be effective and cause large-scale damage to the Tianshui team, then perhaps the Blazing Fire team still had a glimmer of a chance to win this team competition. Chapter 232.